The webinar is being recorded. It's true, my friends. And if you do not wish to be recorded, you might want to turn your camera off and or change your name so we don't see your name right down in this corner. Justin Dre, that's what they call me. They call me a lot of things. Justin Clark Dre. I'm kicking it at that pizza frequency. You guys know the dealio. Guys and gals, ladies and germs, cats and dogs, children of all ages. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, look at that. Look, I got my hand raised. Look right up there. Whoop, hand raised, hand raised, hand raised. Look at that. Look at all these new little fun things that Zoom is just popping up for us. Welcome, 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 everybody. December 28, 2020, 12282020. I hope that everyone had a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate. And if not, I hope you had some good QT, a little quality time. Like I said, my name is Justin Dre. I am your co-host, your cohort, your co-conspirator, and co-pilot to this office hours with Noel and Justin, office hours. So Noel and I teach these classes. And we've got beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes that we did. We did a number of them, probably 60 this year. And then we've got some classes that are now on demand. We have a beginning, intermediate, and advanced class on demand. And then we have continued to do classes. A lot of part 2 intermediates and advanced classes. And we're going to continue to do them through 2021. So I'm very excited about that. Yes, so here we are at our office hours. And what we do is we use this time because Noel was spending too much time answering emails with all the questions that we get if you have taken classes with us in person, or also if you have taken some of the on-demand classes. So this is what we have done. So we open this up for about 2 hours. What we're going to do is we're going to go through questions. So we're not going to bring everybody over like we normally do in our classes. What we do is we just keep you all as attendees, and then maybe at the end of class, whoever's left over, we'll just bring over and kind of just shoot the ship a little bit. But this is the dealio. So please use the Q&A if you have questions. Once again, please use the Q&A. The chat is intended for you all to chat back and forth amongst yourselves. Remember, this is a pizza community. We are resonating at the pizza frequency together. What does that mean? I like talking about pizza. I love making pizza, but most of all, I love sharing pizza with people that I give a shit about. And you being here, I have a sneaking suspicion that you too also give a shit about people and love to share pizza with them. There are many different types of pizza. There are many different ways to cook pizza. That is why we always say a recipe does not a pizza make. If it were that simple, more people would be doing it. A lot of people are doing it, but it's not just about the recipe. It has to do with the way you approach the recipe, and you get your make to bake schedule. And that means, when do you want to eat it? And let's work backwards from there. Let's take our times. Let's take our temperatures, depending on what kind of pizza. Because if I say pizza, that can mean a million different options out there. So what kind of pizza do you want to make? All right, let's choose the right flours for that type of pizza. Now let's choose the right water that you want to use, and what temperature is that water based on when you want that pizza to perform, right? It's not about the recipe, it's about the method, the variables in your pizza equation, right? There are constants. The recipe is the constant, but within that, what type of flour are you using? What type of mix are you doing? How warm is your water, or how cold is your water, depending on what type of mix? If you're using a spiral mixer or a diving arm mixer, there's different friction factor there. How does that affect your DDT, your desired dough temperature? All of these things are variables in your pizza equation. So let me just go over this one more time. I encourage you all to chat amongst yourselves. Please introduce yourself. I'm here. I'm in this place. I've taken this class. My favorite type of pizza is this. I've had luck with these pans and this oven. Use that for the chat back and forth. However, if you have questions, please, this is what we'd like you to do. Please don't list off 5 questions in the same thing. One question, one at a time, please. And what we encourage you to do, say, hey, I'm blank. I've taken this class, And here's my question, because we want to know what classes you have taken with us so we can better help you to answer the question. Now, if you have not taken any classes with us, we totally understand that too, but just let us know. Hey, I haven't taken any classes, but this is what I'm wondering about. We're just trying to better understand how we can answer the question based on what you've done with us. If you spent time with us in classes or if you've watched the on-demand classes. So I think that is it. So I'm encouraging everybody, please use the Q&A for the questions. And what we'll do is I will lob them over to Noel and we'll kind of wax phyllo dough. And you guys know the deal. I'm talking phyllo dough. That's not puff pastry. That's the philosophy of doji dough. So without any further ado, I'm going to blue bell them. Think I'm going to blue bell them. I don't even think where's my blue bell? Where's the blue bell of pizza-ness? Oh boy. Boy, this is a real, sorry guys. Oh, here it is. I found it. The blue bell of pizza-ness, ladies and germs. The blue cow bell of pizza-ness. This is the last office hours for 2020. Let's have a wonderful one. And good riddance, not to office hours, but to 2020. Our last two classes of 2020 are tomorrow and Wednesday. We're doing our last beginner class of 2020. The way we started 2020 was with Pizza Zoom, and the way we're going out is a beginner two-part class. I love that class because we do a hand mix on day one, and we have a pizza party on day two. And like I said, there's nothing more than I love than sharing pizza with people that I give a ship about. Without any further ado, the Blue Bella Pizza-ness is going to bring him on. Ladies and germs, germs and ladies, cats and dogs, children of all ages, here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Noel, Mr. Slow Rise himself. Noel, Slow Rise Pizza Brohner.
Justin,
It's a good intro. I felt that. That's good.
just are you trying to say you love me without actually saying you love me? I feel like you were
Hey.
talking to me that time. Were you talking to me?
Oh, look at you. Hey, let's
You're
make
still
some
not
pizza
answering my
together.
question, are you?
Hey, oh, whoa. See, that's what's great about me. I just want everybody to feel the love.
Oh, okay,
See
okay.
that?
So it wasn't directed to me. It
No,
was
I
really
definitely
directed to
love
everyone.
you. You're my brother in pizza. I love you. I love you very much.
Oh, thank
Is
you.
that
I
is
love
that
you too.
good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
There we
It's
go.
great.
I I read an article about being able to say that. It's a very manly thing to be able to say. As 2020, if you can be emotionally intact, you're going out of focus for some reason.
You're going out of focus for some reason.
No. Anyway, I love you, and I'm excited to be here with you doing these office hours. I think the office hours were really a good idea. I'm just in the chat, guys. Yes, please, please, please. I see Greg is putting his Instagram in there. Use it. Put your Instagram handles in there. Put your
Absolutely.
Instagram, URLs in there, so we can just, we can all build on this pizza community. Like Noel and I say, there's no secrets here. Let's talk about it. Let's make the best pizza that we can with the tools that we have at our disposal. So thanks, Greg, for putting your the old Insta handle in there. And Noel is always at Slow Rise Pizza, and I'm always at Pizza Frequency or at Justin Clark Dre if you want to see some acting chops. Anyway, that's enough about me and you. Um, Judo, I see you there. I see you. That was a great one. I think you were with us last week, Gary. So good to see you back again. Ham sauce bente un. There we go. Let's check it out. So Noel. So hey, good. How about a good 2020? I mean, not a great 2020. I mean, as all things go, but just as far as getting up to speed on Zoom, starting in March with the Pizza Zoom 2020. We're supposed to be in Vegas at the pizza convention, and you said let's just jump on this and let's try to wrangle everybody to do. Let's see who we can get. Let's bring everybody that we were supposed to be making pizzas with at the Pizza Zoom, and let's get them on. Let's or at the at Vegas at the Pizza Expo, and let's get them on the Zoom. And boy, we haven't looked back since. You know,
Sorry, I'm just typing a response to Gary here. He just fired up about 10 questions in one box.
damn, Gare, crushing us. Gary was with us. Is that Gary?
I'm sending him a message. You got to break him up.
Got to break them up.
Unless you can memorize 12 questions and just
I don't
ask
think
them one
so.
by one.
I don't think so.
Gary, also, you got to tell us what class you're in so everybody knows. Come on
Yeah.
there. I know you're impatient. I know you have a lot of questions.
He's taking the intermediate one. How do you
Right.
store flour properly?
Hey, we're not there yet. Hold on. We're still chatting.
I want to know. I want to know.
We all want to know. We all want to know. Hold on.
It
I was just
depends.
telling you, I was just taking a little break from
Yeah.
talking to you just for a second. So I want to
Um.
respond to Gary. I know he's impatient. We're all impatient.
No, I got to get these answers. I got to make this pizza.
I know. So let's see.
Argentinian.
Hold on.
Fernando is saying Argentinian style pizza.
We're going to be doing an Argentinian style pizza class. Argentine. Find out from Gary. Find out from him if it's Argentinian or Argentine.
That's
I
Fernando.
heard it both ways.
Yeah.
Fernando.
Well, we're going to bring Fernando on a little later because I want to know that too.
Justin, I don't know what you're chewing on. Is it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My wife gave me. Okay, you guys know the deal. I grew up in a savory family. If you spent any time with us before, I would get home from school and my mom would have Triscuits out. I grew up in the South, so we'd leave our butter out. My mom would have a Triscuit, and she would just she would butter her Triscuit, but she'd scrape it along the top of the butter, as to get. And this is like room temp butter, which I know room temp can be anything, but it's butter that's very soft. So you get that nice like you get all that, and then she'd have a plate that she had salted, and she'd take her salted Triscuit, buttered and salted, and just drop it in the salt and then eat that. So just so you know, I grew up in a very savory family. I don't remember where I was going with that one, but
I was asking you what you were eating.
Oh, yeah. My point is that my wife, or I'm sorry, Santa Claus brought me some sunflower seeds in my stockings. And once I open a bag of those, I'm just like a little salt fiend. And so I'm sorry if I'm sitting here eating. I have some. I have some sunflower seeds. I love them. I love them. So that's what I was eating. And if it's really annoying, I will continue to eat them.
It's not really annoying, Justin. This happy hours.
I
It's
know,
free.
right?
You can you can do whatever you want.
I love it. I love it. Oh, look at this. Look at this Argentinian style.
I think it's
Ooh.
Argentine. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say.
Ooh,
Argentine.
look like we got some sunflower seeds on the bottom of that crust. Holy mo, that looks great. Look at those pepperoni dogs. Oh man, I'm giving you guys some love here. I'm liking this. I'm liking. You know me. You know me and pepperoni dogs. I can barely have enough. I can barely have enough. It was a rainy day in SoCal. We had cats and dogs coming down in Venice Beach. How was it in San Mon?
We had like 10 seconds of sunlight around 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And right now it's slowing down. The rain's supposed to go until about 8 p.m., which is hopefully when I'll get out and finally take a walk.
Wow. Yeah, we were supposed to go for. There was a window where we were going to go, but I think it was good that we did not go because I think that 10 minutes later it was pouring again. So.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So, Justin, what are we doing here today? We're going to answer some questions.
Yeah, the whole gig is with the office hours that you were getting bogged down, whining about too many emails.
Always.
And someone like me, it would be really hard to do because I never learned to type. Still can't type hardly. I'm like, never learned to count, never learned to spell, and
wait.
Can't
did
type.
You take typing class in high school or junior high school?
I did. Well, actually, I didn't take it in high school. I did like a summer school course in it where I was playing like that game where they were like, make it a video game where you shoot you're like you press J, H, D, to shoot missiles at the spaceship. And I had the attention span of like a baby gnat, not even like a real gnat, like not even an adult gnat, like a baby one. It's like, hey, what's over here? What's over there? Whoa, God, So forget it. Never. I can't do it.
Did they ever get you on medication for that, Justin?
I was a Ritalin child from like 1983. Like as soon as the doctors were like, well, there's this new medicine. My parents like, yeah, we're gonna put him on it. We're gonna go ahead and do that. So, but I was on Ritalin for most of till I think from about second or third grade till I think it was the summer before ninth grade. I decided I didn't want to take it anymore. So there you go. I don't know if it helps. It helps, but I don't know. They said that they told me that putting me on Ritalin at such a young age, it you know, uh, might have helped me find my, desire to take other sort of medicines in my in my young adult life. So
Whatever,
you
whatever
never
that.
know. You
I don't know
never
what they're
know.
talking about.
You never know. You never know how it goes. So there we go.
Well, now I've got you, and I think your attention span is excellent.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, yes, indeed. Just as long as I have my big carafe of vodka.
And your Triscuits, your wife feeding you salt intravenously, right?
Mm, don't look at my toe. I've got like a bag. I've got like if you look at my toe, that's where I stick the needle, and the saline just goes drip. My saline drip
Are
all
you
day.
are you like stabbing yourself in between the toes so nobody can
Oh
see
yeah.
the
Oh
marks?
yeah. I can't. I don't want people to know my love affair with Sal.
I understand. I
I'm
understand.
putting 3.2. I'm putting 3.3% salt in my dough.
It's a lot of salt. It's a lot of
Yeah,
salt.
and then I salt my sauce. I'm burning my tongue. I'm burning it. All right. It's a quarter after.
Let's start going with the questions. What do you
All right.
got?
So Gary has taken he's taken the advanced number one, I think.
This is
He
this
took
is Gary Scardina. I think
Gary Scardina.
intermediate number one as well.
I know he says he needs to take intermediate number two
Oh, okay,
and
okay, okay.
advanced one. He's going to use the holiday discount, but schedule has class advanced before the intermediate. I'm not sure what that means. But Gary's asking, how do you store flour?
All right. So, quick answer to that is you need to store it in a cool, dry place.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like to store it in my office where it's always about 50 or 60 degrees most of the time. There's never any light coming into my office, maybe just a dappling here and there. Nowhere warm and nowhere humid. If you store flour in a warm, humid place, bad things will happen.
Such as?
You well, so when your flour gets too much moisture, it
Mhm.
starts to take in the moisture and it starts to sprout. It starts to go bad. Also, it starts to hydrate. And so, if you're working on a recipe that you've done a million times, you take that flour that's pre-hydrated and try to add it to a recipe, you'll find out that it's very sticky because it's got a lot of water in it already.
Right.
So usually flour is already 14% moisture when it comes, or 14% hydration when it comes out of the mill, maybe
Mm.
15%, and it can go up or down from there. It can go into the 20s if it's in a not a cool dry place, and it can go down into the teens, probably lower, probably 10 or 7 or 8%, if it's in a super dry place. So anyway, that will affect the overall temperature, overall performance of your flour. Also, a lot of people forget that a lot of people think of flour as something that will never go bad, right? It comes in these big giant bags, it lasts for years, but that's not really what flour is. Flour actually is a perishable, and you got to be super careful because there's like little vermin in that stuff,
Right.
and there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong with it if you don't store it properly, just like any perishable. So
Mm.
excellent question. Excellent question.
Good, good, good. There you go. And we've got some good answers in the chat there too.
Hmm.
Um, so how can you tell if your flour has gone bad?
Well, usually it smells funny, like it smells like it's fermenting. So it have an off odor to it, a little bit sour.
Hmm.
Um, it usually it'll start to clump. That's one thing I notice. And so even if you run it through a sieve or you sift it, it doesn't matter. It's once it starts to clump, you're going down.
Interesting.
Um, those are the two main things. I've also opened up bags of flour that have lots of little bugs in them, and so what I'm told is that those bugs are actually alive but unhatched in the flour when it arrives. And we don't list that in the United States, but in places like Italy, if you look very closely at the ingredients, they will list parts per million of vermin,
Oh
which
wow.
may include eye of newt.
Ooh.
It might include fly wings. It might include rat droppings. It might include all kinds of stuff that we don't have to list in the United States. So it's all in there, getting ready to go if you don't store it properly.
Eye of newt. That
Eye
sounds
of newt, right?
delicious. Yeah, yeah. Sounds like a witch's brew of some sort. So,
Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
um, So when we cook New York style pizza, we cook it on the deck. We do not like to cook it on a screen. Do you have a thoughts on using a screen?
Well, if your pizza's burning on the bottom and it's not done on top, then I think a screen is useful. There are some guys in LA and Philly that I know that cook the pizza almost the entire way through on a screen, and they got a lot of hate on Instagram and other
Hmm.
places for like whatever it is that people think that they're doing. I think people think that it's not correct. I think people think that they're taking a shortcut. They just don't like it. I've had some of that pizza cooked that way, and I actually think it's not as bad as some people think. It's actually pretty good, but it doesn't end up being crispy on the bottom. It ends up being a little on the spongy side, and it's got those little
Little cross
X's.
hatches on it.
Yeah,
If you ever get and call me crazy, but if you got a hankering for some Costco pizza, I believe that they cook their pizzas on screens.
Justin, I
Um,
wonder if they. No, I thought. Oh, maybe they do. Maybe
I
they
you
do.
know I don't know. I mean, I think I've seen those little crotch hatches, and here's my thing. I don't care how you cook your pizza, you know, just as long as it's pizza. Like, and all the, my 3.25 cents is like, if you want to use a screen and that gets the results that you're looking for, all these makeshifts that are out there that are busting people's chops for using a screen, like, shut up.
Yeah.
you know, if you use a screen and it works for you, it works. So, um, how big is the 285 New York pizza in inches in the intermediate class? That's the intermediate class. So that's about a 14-inch pie.
Yeah, I would say if you want it super thin, it's about 14. If you want it, pretty thin, it's about 13. And if you want it more like New York pizza, which is actually not that thin, probably 11 to 12 inches.
So if you're doing a traditional 16-inch pizza, how many grams would you use?
I like my traditional New York pizza to be thin crust, and so
Okay.
small cornichone, thinner than average. I like 425
Okay.
in grams. I know people go up to 475 for the same pizza.
Weren't we talking the other day? I don't remember who it
Oh
was.
God, here we go.
Stefano, maybe said 16 ounces for a 16-inch pie.
Somebody said that. If it was Stefano, that guy's Italian. Do we trust him on New York pies?
Maybe it
Yeah,
wasn't. Maybe I'm tripping.
you would no. I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know if it might have been Michele.
Mm.
Might have been a lot of people, Justin. But I
Yeah.
don't think we should just like throw out information unsourced willy nilly in
There
office
we
hours.
go.
Do
I
you?
think I'm just saying. I think that one of our teachers said that their rule of thumb for 16 inches, 16
So
ounces.
you're gonna say that somebody you can't remember
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much
a,
said something that you're pretty sure people should go with?
You know what?
That's your best advice for 2020 going forward into
Yeah,
2021, Justin? Is
it's
that what you're saying?
pretty much par for the course in 2020. I think somebody once said this about something.
That's
All
why I
right.
like you, Justin. That's why I like you.
I'm standing by. Standing. I got resolve over here. All right. So if you're doing New York style, what type of flour do you want to use? Now this is getting into, like, it depends. You can just say traditionally New York is a stronger protein flour, right?
Yes,
Okay. And that is traditional. So you don't want to use
I
a
would say
double
so.
zero. You probably don't want to use an AP is okay, but a bread flour or something, not bread flour.
Red
Yeah,
flour. Yep.
yeah.
Or where are you going
Bread.
with that?
I was going to say bread flour or even something stronger
Yeah.
is traditional New York style. I believe that they use all trumps. Is
Yep.
a lot of pizzerias in New York swear by all trumps, and Noel, probably you can tell me what's the percentage protein or percentage quality.
It's pretty high. I mean, some people would say it's a high gluten flour, whatever that means. That's more of a marketing term than it is a specific term. So a lot of the New York pizzas are probably in the 14% range in terms of protein. Some of them are in the 13% range. And I would say a lot of the modern kind of New York 2.0s are probably in the 12% range.
Gotcha.
More water, less protein. That's the new normal.
Um, so if you have a laser thermometer, does that help taking the flour and dough temps? I would recommend a instant read point, like the shooter is better for like kind of getting deck temps, but we like Thermopen. We don't get any kickbacks or anything, but
We
they have.
should. We've sold a lot of those
Yeah,
things.
I mean those things are great. Go to Thermapen, give them your email. Just get the regular. They have a Thermopop, which I have a couple of because I bought. They're constant. They have sales all the time. They have sales all the time. You give them your email. Wait till the old Thermapen. I think it's like $65. You buy it once, it'll last forever. Get yourself a pen. Get yourself a good thermometer. If you want to make good pizza, you need a thermometer and a scale, right? You need two scales. You need a tiny drug
Oh,
scale.
Justin, don't go crazy. One scale, one thermometer. You need two scales.
I need two scales because I'm trying. I have a lot of yeast to measure.
Justin, you have a lot of nuts to measure. I want to weigh seeds on the drug scale, and I want to wear like I know you got a pile of corn nuts in the other
Oh
corner.
yeah,
I want to see
I've
how
got
many corn nuts you eat in one sitting.
my. Oh man, I could crush corn nuts.
I
They used
know
to have
you
these
could.
things. They used to have these things called pop nuts that were the best. I love. My wife yells at me when I make popcorn. She's like, "You're gonna break a tooth," because I always love the little half pop kernels. Anyway, uh, all right,
Hold on,
yeah,
hold on.
yeah.
Wait, what do you like better? Do you like those corn nuts or you like Fritos? If you had to choose, last
So
meal.
I last meal, I'd probably go with Fritos because I
Enough
just
said. Enough said. Don't give me. I don't want to know why. We'll save it for later.
and
Save it for later.
don't get me started on Long John Silver's.
I
I'll get
won't.
I'll
I
get you there.
promise I will not.
Okay. Okay. If your dough mix is too cold, what happens? If your dough comes out too cold, it's just going to take longer. If your dough comes out too cold, let it sit longer. Let it sit on the bench longer. I mean, if it's like 50 degrees, that's super cold.
Final answer, Justin.
I mean, you want your dough to come out like, you know,
Within 2 degrees of your desired dough temperature. That's what we
right.
teach, right?
Yeah. And based on what style you're making, you want it to be, the desired dough temperature for that style.
Plus or
What
minus
is
2 degrees, right?
what is New York style?
We say 70 to 72. What do you say?
70 to 72 for New
Good.
York style.
What about Neapolitan, Justin?
Same, right?
78 to 80, I would say.
Oh, Neapolitan, yes, 78 to 80, much warmer,
What
much
about
warmer.
what about Roman?
Roman, we do 72 to 74.
There you go.
But, not to get advanced, but, maybe it's a little more or less depending on the season.
Oh,
Just saying.
you
Come to
didn't hear it. You
class.
didn't hear it from me, Justin.
Come to class. All right. Okay. What happens if the ADY isn't bloomed before adding to the mix? Well, your yeast might be dead. If you're blooming your yeast and it's not really
Justin, are you going to
blooming,
answer every question? Didn't we discuss this?
I'm
Every
just
question
I'm
you're going
just
to
trying
ask
to
and
get through
answer every
Gary.
one.
Gary has this slew of questions, so I'm trying to get through Gary's.
All right, let's get through Gary. Fine, we'll
All right.
tag team Gary. One
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you,
yeah.
one for me.
Okay, so if the active dry ADY is active dry yeast for everybody. What we recommend people using instant dry yeast because you do not have to take the extra step. It's not that big a deal for home chefs. However, if you're in the industry and you have more steps working in a professional pizzeria, you just have more options for you to screw up. So don't, if you're trying to teach somebody, you're like, and now you have to bloom the yeast, and then maybe sometimes you have to add a little sugar to it because it's not and the water has to be 110 degrees. That's a lot of just steps just to bloom the yeast. Just buy instant dry yeast. But if your active dry yeast isn't bloomed before adding it to the mixed, what is the dealio?
Well, you are going to slow down your fermentation, in my experience. So I've not bloomed yeast before on specific orders from a chef, and in the case where I was working in Chicago with Stefano last year, it took an extra 3 or 4 hours for our dough to rise. 3 or 4 hours, which was actually double the time of our rise.
Wow.
So it retarded fermentation. Some people say it will kill fermentation, but that's not true. I think it just slows it down. Another answer to that would be that depending on the regional style of pizza you are trying to create, every regional style has specific regional ingredients. It might be flour, it might be yeast, it might even be water, right? Might even be some kind of fat like butter or oil or lard. So certain regional styles call for certain kinds of yeast. Could be fresh yeast, could be active dry. So there are people that are not me and you, Justin, that would say if you're going to make New York pizza, you have to use active dry for this or that reason. If you're going to make Chicago tavern style pizza, you need to use active dry for this or that reason. Most of it, I think, has nothing to do with science necessarily, and more to do with
How they were
uh,
taught, right?
how they were taught. I know a guy in Chicago who knows probably a lot more about active dry yeast than I will ever want to know, and he says a lot of interesting things, which I cannot verify, but he says it with authority, and so I'm going to assume that everything he says is true. I'm not going to say who he is. He's one of the pizza bigwigs in the United States,
Whew,
and he says that ADY has its purpose, and so I'm going to agree to disagree.
there you go.
I
There you
think it's
go.
a relic of World War One. Wouldn't you say that, Justin?
Yeah, the reason that they were called doughboys is because they sent active dry yeast with them to the front line and the foxholes and the trenches, and they would actually make little tiny breads using their active dry yeast. That's why the name doughboys was coined, ladies and germs. This is a history lesson too. Okay, what style of pizza is going to be taught in the next intermediate class? Oh, okay, okay. Is it
So the next
Chicago?
intermediate class, Justin, is going to
Yes,
be Adam Kuban.
AK.
Yeah, so that's going to be, I believe, on the 9th of January. And right now, it's the only class we have up for January. It's my job before New Year's to get all of the January classes up. So that's going to be what some people would call bar pizza.
Mm,
It's got another name. We're not allowed to say it. We don't want to infringe on someone's intellectual property rights, but it's a cross between maybe a bar pizza and a tavern style pizza. But
right.
we call it. What do we call it, Justin?
We call it bar style pizza, I believe.
We
We
might
do
call it
not
that. Yeah.
call it bar pie.
We do not call it
We
bar
do
pie.
not call it
That
bar
would be an
pie.
infringement
That would be an
on
infringement on somebody who
who shall
decided
remain
that
nameless.
whoever decided that nobody else can use this name. I'm going to trademark it. So we are not calling it bar pie.
Thank you, Justin. So yeah, that'll be the next one we'll do. In January, we're going to be doing a lot of classes, and February too. So for people who've never taken an intermediate class before, we always suggest you take intermediate one, because if you're going to take any of the intermediate two classes, it assumes that you know everything you need to know to be able to make the dough in advance. And what I often get is a lot of questions saying, "Well, how do I know how to do all this stuff? I haven't taken your beginner one class yet." And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. So just come to beginner to intermediate two and either mix with us or do your best to make the recipe in advance, and we'll guide you through during intermediate or advanced two. So there'll be a lot of stuff coming up. A lot
Right.
of stuff.
So, okay, here we go. Final bake on Sicilian, longer or equal to or shorter than the par bake. So, usually shorter. I mean, final bake on Sicilian, longer or equal to or shorter than the par bake and at the same or different temperature.
So I would say, on a Sicilian, I don't like to par bake any pizzas. That's not really what I
If you
do
don't have to,
if I
we
don't have to.
recommend.
So, I'll often, depending on the style, I'll often do a par bake anywhere from maybe 8 or 12 minutes on the short side for a pan pizza, and as many as maybe 16 or 18 on a bigger, thicker pizza. And then usually the final bake is on about the 5 minute side, but that also depends on the toppings and the style. It could be up to 10 or even 12 minutes on the final bake, but generally not. Generally not. But these are all rules of thumb. Everything is depends on the size of your pizza, the style of your pizza, what kind of oven you're using, what the
Always,
toppings are.
yeah,
So many,
always a
so many things.
sliding scale, everybody. That's what we say. Always a sliding scale because, one answer based on, there's so many different variables in there, but that's like Noah was saying, the rule of thumb, maybe. Um, Friction factor changes when the flour changes. Why do different protein levels maybe have a different friction factor?
That is a very good question. Has that person taken any of our classes before?
We're still
Oh, we're still on
slogging
Gary.
through Gary's stuff
No, no, no.
because
We're not
Gary doesn't
slogging.
listen.
These are all good.
Gary,
All right. So for friction factor, the higher the protein, the stronger the flour. And generally speaking, the stronger the flour, the higher the friction. And so the more you mix, the more energy that's created and the more it heats up your dough. Final answer. Good question, Gary.
there we go. There we go. All right. Um, Okay, I'm just trying to check. We've got some hands up. We will get, okay, Gary, we got you. Okay. Woo.
We can skip around. We don't have to do all Gary's in
I
a row.
know.
I mean,
I was just
let's
trying to
try to
get,
keep him here the whole
yeah,
class.
yeah, I was
2
trying.
here, 1 there.
There you go. Okay, here we go. Chris. Chris is in Florida. What's up, dude? Just finished up the beginner on-demand class. Great. That's a 2-day class. We do the hand mix. Then we have the pizza party. Very, very helpful. First question. I use a starter instead of yeast. What is your recommendation for converting recipes from yeast to starter? Do you have a rule of?
Good. So here's what we say. You take the amount of instant dry yeast and you multiply by 100. So in the intermediate and the beginner class, if you're doing a full batch based on 1,000 grams of flour, that would be 2 grams of yeast. So if you wanted to do starter with that, you would multiply that 2 grams times 200. That's 200 grams. And
No,
then
by
subtract
100, by
by
100.
100, thank you. That'd be 200. And you subtract out, assuming your starter is equal parts flour and water, 100 grams of flour from the 650. Sorry, 100 grams of flour from the 1,000, 100 grams of water from the 650, and that will be how you navigate that issue.
Right.
Justin, did I
So
leave anything out?
no, you're just going to remember that if the starter affects the overall amount of flour you use for the recipe and also the overall amount of water you use.
Yep.
So multiply it times 100 and then remember to subtract 100 and 100 from the overall recipe if you're doing that hand mix beginner class recipe, Chris. Great. Done there. CB, I don't see a question. I haven't taken any classes yet, but want to start with beginner. Well, CB, we welcome that. Yeah, we welcome. Come on over, take the beginner. We're doing one tomorrow. You can jump on that. It's gonna be legit. Or you can do the on-demand one whenever works for you. Billy, don't you lose Noel's number. All right, Billy from Texas. Did the beginner on-demand class over the weekend. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I looked good and was funny. Dough balls turned into dough squares overnight. Okay, and expanded to about double their original size. Billy, why does this happen and is it good or bad? And what can I do to keep the balls as balls for next time? So my attitude, Billy, I kind of want to know, and Gary, I'm busting your chops, buddy. You can ask questions. We encourage you to do one at a time, but we're busting baloney, so to speak. So maybe we can bring Billy on. I think that this is a good question because I think I have a couple follow-ups that I want to. Can we bring Billy on? Billy, we're going to ask you if that's okay. I'm gonna promote you to panelist, and we can have a little talk back. Is that okay? Billy, don't you lose my number. All right, Billy, come on down. Come on down. Hopefully, Billy's going to jump on with us, and we will get the questions answered. Billy, and if you don't want to turn your camera on, that's all good. You can just maybe you. Hey, Billy,
Hey,
what's up? How's it going?
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. It's perfect. How's it going? How's Texas?
Texas is great.
Great. I love things like brisket.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, she's so good. So, so you took the beginner class. I hope you enjoyed it. And you did the hand mix. Now, when did you ball it up? After you balled it up, so it just in the 4 hours before baking it, it blew up, or did you leave it out of the fridge? Just talk to us a little bit more about your process.
So I think I started it on Saturday, then I actually cooked it Sunday.
Okay.
So I balled it up. I think I balled it up Saturday night.
Okay. Let me ask a few questions. So,
Sure.
what time do you think that you actually did the hand mix?
This man take note, everybody. Billy is a star student. He's taking his notes. See, that's right. Get your crayons and your pencils.
Billy, it's like I got all the things I wanted for Christmas suddenly. I was short a few, but now I'm good. Thank you.
And he doesn't even celebrate Christmas, so that's great.
He's good.
On December 28th at 6:59 p.m., It was 77 degrees in the room, and that's
Good.
when I started my hand mix.
Excellent. Good. What time did you finish the mix? About 2 hours later?
Let's see, 8:15.
What time did you ball?
Let me see, where is this one? Dough temp, time, bulk. There wasn't a time for the ball, but I think I did 40 minutes of folds.
Good.
So that would have been about almost 9.
Okay. And then what kind of flour did you use?
King Arthur bread flour.
Good. All right. And so you balled the stuff up pretty quickly. And then how long before you put it in the fridge?
So I would have put it in the fridge right afterwards. So that was probably right around 9 p.m.
Okay. And then what time did you take it out the next morning or afternoon or evening?
I think I took it out about 9:20 the next morning.
In the morning. Okay.
Yes.
And then what time did you try to bake?
So I actually let it sit out for almost 4 hours.
Good.
So then I started turning it into pizza at about 1:05.
That sounds good. Now, what did the balls look like when you took them out of the fridge?
I meant to, when I took them out of the fridge the next day, so actually I need to back up a little bit because I decided I didn't want to do all 6 the next day. So I took 2 out and I put them in smaller Tupperware.
Ah, you did the transfer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so when I took them out on Sunday afternoon, they actually had taken up a fourth of my Tupperware each square.
Yeah. So would you say there was a lot of room in your Tupperware when you placed the balls in there, and then they took out the rest of it?
Can I show a picture?
That looks pretty good. That looks great, actually.
So that's what they look like, and
that's what they look like going in, or that's what they look like coming out the next morning.
So that's what they look like Saturday night when they went in the fridge.
And then the next morning, did they pretty much take up all the extra space in the container?
Yeah, so I'd taken 2 of them out, and then they just expanded through the whole thing.
All right. So a couple of things. I would not, if you're planning on using 2 balls the next day out of, let's say, 6, I would put those in a different container because by the next day, you really don't want to be fussing with those dough balls until you actually take them out of the container and gently stretch them out. So I would say one thing you might have done that you want to maybe not do again is don't move them in between. It's dangerous, number one. Number two, it sounds like you did everything right, and you used good flour, and it sounds like you took good records, so that's all good. So one of the things that we talk about is when you have a couple different strategies, right, in the class. So you can actually ball the dough immediately after bulk, or you can wait a few hours, depending on your time zone, and ball them later that night, or you can ball them the next day. The longer you wait to ball those dough balls, the more strength and structure they will have. So what you did was you did option number 1, which gives you the most extensibility, which is good for New York style thin crust pizza. But that dough, maybe after 4 hours, was maybe a little bit too weak to not just kind of flatten out a little bit. So maybe in the future, 4 hours is too much. You maybe want to see maybe 2 or 3 hours if that does the trick, right? Or maybe you ball them the next morning and give yourself 4, 5, even 6 hours to let them proof, right? To let them come to temperature, and that would be something you'd want to try as well. And a third thing, which we do in class, depending on what time zone you're in. So in my time zone, we make dough from 5 to 7 p.m. And I always tell people, go have some dinner, watch some TV, put your dough in the fridge, or, outside on the patio where it's a nice mid temperature, maybe 50 degrees, 60. And then before you go to sleep, ball the dough. By leaving that dough in bulk for an extra 2 or 3 or 4 hours, more strength, more structure, less likely to collapse or flatten out the next day.
You're saying the same day that I make the dough, maybe put it in the fridge before I ball it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So bulk fermentation is a really powerful technology. And one of the things we talk about in the intermediate class is how all of the different parts of the fermentation process relate, right? So when you're mixing, you're creating strength. when you're resting, you're creating extensibility and allowing the fermentation to take place, right? And also by resting the dough in bulk fermentation, you're allowing the dough to build structure without having to mix it. So there's all these trade-offs, right? And the better you get at pizza making, just like knowing your neighborhood, right? Google says in LA, take the 405 to the 10 to the 101. And you're like, I'm not doing that. It's going to take forever. And you know what side streets to take. So sorry, I have a lot of bad analogies, but the better you get at baking, the more you realize what options you have. And so you're already doing a really good job at writing everything down. And so take notes, take pictures. It would be great to see what that dough looked like the next morning and what kind of pizza it made, which leads to my last question. What kind of pizza did it make?
The dough was fantastic.
Good.
I need to figure out what to do about sauce and quality ingredients and all that stuff, but that's all part of the fun.
When you say fantastic, what to you makes fantastic pizza crust or dough?
Well, my mother-in-law makes really cheap, kind of subpar pizza, and I hate that she's the pizza maker of the family. This dough was airy and flavorful.
Yeah.
I mean, the crust was nice and thick. I mean, it was just delicious.
I'm happy. So are you going to make it for her, or are you going to wait till you get it perfected?
No, I gotta nail it because I don't want to raise the bar up and then not meet expectations.
There you go. Good one. I like that. Well, keep baking. Come next week on Monday, and we'll catch up again. Bring more pictures and more notes. I like the way you make my job easy. If all my clients were like you, I would have to get another job.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
And real quick, Billy, one thing that I like to do is I get these food service, I have them somewhere, but they're like
the
kind
black
of like
box and the clear.
They're kind of like this, but they're the round ones. You get your pad thai in or whatever. Those are great because just one dough ball, I put a little olive oil in. Noel doesn't like that. And then when I get my flour out, I just flip it right down into the flour, boom, and then I can flip it around in the flour, for the shimmy and shake and stuff like that. But this works when I make 6 dough balls. They fit in my refrigerator, so I don't have to have a big tray. And then what's great is that you can just pull 2 out and leave the rest in your refrigerator as well. I wish I had the round one. I'm in Southern California. You can get these at Smart and Final. They're like 7-inch round bros, and they work great for my doughs. So I
I'd messaged you about I didn't clean out the tray whatever I was using to make the dough, and I left all the oil in. So what does that do if I leave it in there?
So in general, it's going to make your dough brown a little more quickly. It might change the texture and make it more crispy or crunchy. So depending on what kind of oven you're using and what style of pizza you're making, it might work out great. Like for pan pizza, it's awesome. Or even if you have like a home oven that doesn't get too hot, maybe like 475 or 500, it would probably add to browning real nicely. But if you're using like an even hotter oven, so maybe like a rock box or an uni or a wood-fired oven, it could cause your dough to burn.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, Bill.
Good job.
Good
we
stuff.
need more students like Billy. What's going on, Billy? Come to a live class.
Yeah, we have a good time.
We love record keepers. We love people who start little dough journals. That's the best.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Billy.
Thanks,
we'll
Billy.
see you, bud. Noel, Gary has another question. He wants
Yes.
to know, what musical instrument do you play?
That's funny. So I have a Fender Rhodes digital, electric piano in my apartment. So I've been playing piano since I was about, 2 years old. I also have some bongos and a conga drum.
Oh,
So I play percussion, and I used to play guitar and what else? I used to play guitar and saxophone when I was in junior high school.
wow. Look at just your one-man band. You ever
Right?
go out there with your bongos and hit the Santa
I do.
Monica drum
I do.
circle?
I do.
You're dirty. This guy. I've seen him out there dancing, twirling,
I like to play my drums in a drum circle. I think it's fun.
twirling with the hippies.
You wouldn't know it from looking at me.
I just guessed it. So
You did just guess it. You're right.
there you go. Gregory, Noel, took the beginner class on demand.
Good.
Great. It says, I make grandma pies.
Good.
Now, and I read that cold dough bubbles more, which we love. So I've been experimenting with refrigerating my dough to lower the temperature after it's been rolled out before baking. Any thoughts on that process?
All right. So in general, cold dough is stronger than room temperature dough. And so you're going to get those bubbles and may have to dock the dough to not get those bubbles. So um, you'll also get bubbles if your dough is super well fermented and very warm. So they're different kind of bubbles, right? The bubbles that you get from cold dough are really strong and probably not the kind of bubbles you want. They don't come from proper fermentation. They come from a dough being too strong and not extensible enough. And so when they fill up with gas and the gas gets hot and the dough expands, they kind of proof up in ways that probably you don't want. So I think in general, Justin, tell me if you think I'm wrong, dough that is 55 or 60 degrees minimum and up to probably 75 or 80 degrees maximum is kind of where you want to be for dough. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I like to do that. I mean, we have had some teachers say that, or some of our you know, co-pizza makers say that they love working with their dough at 80 degrees because it's just so supple. You barely have
Yeah.
to, like, you know, there's a risk of tearing, but when you're stretching your dough out, you barely have, you like, you know, you kind of like, you what is it? You butterfly kiss it, and it just makes the pizza is just stretched by itself. You barely have to touch it. So, so I don't know, but if you roll it out and then top it, I mean, grandma pizzas, grandma style. I mean, that's traditionally? Can you talk about that style just a little bit? It's like a
So
deep dish pizza, but it's thinner, right? You don't let it rise
it's
as
not a
much.
deep dish pizza.
Not
It's
a
not a
deep
deep
dish
dish
pizza.
pizza.
Okay,
I wouldn't call it deep dish implies thick.
gotcha.
So it's a pan pizza, different from a Sicilian that proofs in the pan. You basically stretch the dough, put it in the pan, top it, and get it in the oven. So it
As soon
doesn't
as
proof in the
possible. That's
pan,
right. Right.
and it ends up being a relatively thinner crust pizza than, let's say, a Sicilian.
Right. And you can use the same
New York dough.
New York.
Most New York guys do.
Yeah.
Some even use the same on Sicilian. We use a higher hydration dough.
So basically, it's a New York style pressed into a pan and topped really quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Rich wants to know, how did we meet? Well, so Noel, I think I had that picture somewhere. I'm trying to find it. Noel, we're in Los Angeles, and there's a restaurant supply store called Surface that I signed up for their website, and they were doing classes, free classes. They had a test kitchen. It was in Culver City, and I love making pizza just because, like I said, one of my favorite things to do is sit around and eat and drink with people that I give a shit about. And pizza is something that I've always loved. And so Noel was doing some these little free seminars, and I think I went to his first one, maybe his second one. I don't know, but it was like there were like 50 some people there. It was standing room only.
70 on that first one. Can you believe
Noel
it?
just put up some video from. I bet you I'm in the
You are.
You know, I'm in the thing.
Justin, I don't remember seeing you in the thing, but I'm pretty sure you were up pretty close, weren't you? You weren't loitering in the back, were you?
No. I was sitting there. I was sitting there.
I remember you got there early, like one of my.
Yeah, you know, we So anyway, so Noel, that was the first class I took, and I think I went to all of his free classes. Surface then moved. I went to a couple of the big paid classes, a couple of them, 2 or 3. And I'm an actor in Los Angeles. Things have been a little slow for my type over the past couple of years, and so I just basically went to Noel and said, "Yo, dude, can I basically stage a little bit when you have classes and stuff like that, or when you have clients in that you're working? I'll come and wash dishes and hang out and make pizza." And that was a couple years ago. And look at me now.
Yeah, look at you now.
So that is how we met. Brothers in pizza, I always say. And
Plus
I'll try to
a few friends in common that
we
vouched
do
for you, because I had my doubts about you, Justin. You
Idiot.
were so effervescent when I met you.
I still am. It's probably all that Ritalin I was on.
You were bubbling over with Ritalin. That was the smell.
I was excited
wondering
about
what that smell was.
Excited about pizza.
We were so
So,
excited, so excited.
all right, Gary, who was here with us last week. Good to see you again. Gary took the judo. Took the beginner class on demand and is taking the
Awesome.
next two ones as well. Good. Would love some talking about choices of tomatoes, pros and cons. Maybe discuss the cans in the background. So Noel uses. We like Dinopolis. We like Bianco Dinopoli tomatoes. We use those. What were the ones you have? I like the whole peeled ones, right? Because they have the most juice in them. So then when you crush your tomatoes, you can decide how much juice to add back. The rustic crushed are a little thick for my taste. I feel like they need some juice added back to them. Their little blue can, that crushed can is really good. But we also, when that's for like New York style. We also like the Chow tomatoes through our friends. What's the distributor? Why am I
Orlando
blanking?
Foods.
Orlando Foods, the Chow tomatoes, which are more traditional for Neapolitan style. That is just to taste all the different ones. Look at ABZ in the background, in between the two fridges. Um, I love the Dinopolis, but I got to tell you, during this pandemic, I've been using the 7-Elevens, and I really have liked those. The 7-Eleven tomatoes, because I can get a big number 10 can at Smart and Final, and I've been making my pizza sauce with that, and it's been really good. So, and it's a thinner pizza sauce, which I have liked. So, Noel,
Very good.
any other thoughts?
So I would say that there's a couple of things. I think the first thing we always try to look at when you're asking any question like this is what is the tradition for the style,
Hmm.
right? And so maybe if you're from, I don't know, a city in upstate New York, and they were making some kind of New York style hybrid pizza, maybe a mom and pop style. Maybe they cooked their sauce, right? And maybe they used a 7-Eleven that was a little bit acidic and added a little sugar for sweetness. And maybe that's your jam, right? Or maybe you came from a more straight up, like New York style, where they did like a combo of 7-Eleven and something else,
Hmm.
right? And they used a food processor and made it like real thin.
Hmm.
And so maybe that's your jam. If you come from Italy, then probably you like a San Marzano or a San Marzano style tomato, which has a lot more acidity, right? Beautiful deep red color. Uh, Maybe it comes from, I mean, the true San Marzanos come from like they were grown in like volcanic soil in the bed of the Mount Vesuvius overlooking Naples. And so that has a very specific character to it. So I think again, the first thing is to I think discover like what is the tradition that you're working from. Then I think you can look at what's available these days in your market. Like Justin was saying, he could only get 7-Eleven, so he went with those. And then maybe you want to add a little sugar or cook it down or strain it. So
Yeah,
what
that's what
we
I was.
often look at is the hydration, right? The
Mhm.
water content. So that's an important thing to look at too, because you don't, depending on the style of pizza you're making, if you're making Neapolitan, then you want a more watery sauce, right? But if you're making a New York style, maybe you want less of that, so you have something a little crispier. What were we going to say, Justin?
I was just going to say, I mean, that's the thing, just have the tomato base, but then based on what you like. I've been doctoring that stuff up, an anchovy, a little bacon grease, this and that. I'm not afraid to mess around with it. So
Yeah, Justin takes a lot of liberties. I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to pizza. I believe you want to learn the rules before you break them. Justin, yeah, we know what you think, Justin.
that's
That's why we're good partners, right?
that's right. That's a pizza frequency to the slow rise. There we go.
There it
The yin
is.
and the yang of the pizza. It's cheese and pepperonis. That's the dealio.
There you go. So we did a class with Adam Kuban, choose your own adventure. Is that what he called it? We're going to be
Mm-hmm.
doing that one again.
Mm-hmm.
That's an
Oh,
intermediate two,
yeah, but
and
we're
we'll
doing
have
the
that
bar.
one.
We're doing the tavern style or the bar style pizza one again.
We're going to do that one again as well on the
Okay.
9th. But we'll do some more with Adam. And what he did with that class is he made 3 classic New York style pizzas, each one with mozzarella cheese prepared a different way, each one with
Mhm.
sauce prepared a different way. Same sauce, same cheese, just 3 different preparations and 3 radically different New York pizzas. So when he comes back and does that again, that's an awesome class.
And in his last class, I believe he had a recipe for 3 different pizza sauces as well.
He did. That was for the bar pie class. Don't
Yeah, that's
call it
for the
bar
bar.
pie. Actually,
That's right.
bar pizza. Bar
Not
pizza.
not bar pie
Edit
class.
that out. Would you
Not
please,
bar
Justin?
pie. Yeah, where's the bell? Not bar pie. Not bar pie.
Good.
All right. So there we go. There we go. All right. So CB, sorry, I know that was looking. I don't know how that happened. It was in the chat. I lost it. Found it back. Here we go. Pizzeria Bianco.
Yeah.
What style is Pizzeria Bianco pizza
Oh,
or pizzicletta? So I
let me
believe.
see if I can answer that one for you,
Okay.
Justin.
Yeah.
So pizzicletta is actually a little easier to answer.
Okay.
So pizzicletta is going to be
What is that?
it's a restaurant not far from Pizzeria Bianca. It is I would call it a Neapolitan style hybrid.
Hmm.
So he's doing a quick bake on a Neo style. He's using probably a traditional Neapolitan oven. I don't know what kind of flour he uses, but I'm pretty sure he uses a sourdough starter, which is definitely not traditional. So that's why I call it a hybrid. If I had to say, I would say maybe his hydration's a little bit uh, uh, higher, and I think his fermentation is a little longer than traditional Neapolitan. And I think he's using a combination of traditional ingredients and combinations as well as like super locally sourced everything.
Hmm.
I'm not sure about the flour. It could be central milling. I think that's what Chris Bianco uses or used to use. So that's an awesome version. When I look at Chris Bianco's pizza, I think it's just Chris Bianco's pizza.
Hmm.
In a way, I haven't had it, but it seems to defy styles to me. There is a wood-fired aspect to it, so you could say it's a little bit Neapolitan or neo-Neapolitan. Everybody says it's thin crust and super crispy, which to me could be maybe has like a holler back to New York, right, or wherever Chris grew up. I think he grew up in one of the five boroughs. Um, and also, everything is super local and super seasonal. So
Hmm.
that's not very New York, right? And he's not just using like Italian preparations and combinations. He's really doing his own thing.
Yeah,
So
he loves the DiNapoli tomatoes. I know that for sure.
he loves the
And
monopolies. So
and when he's been in here hanging out with us, I mean, when he was on Pizza Zoom, he was talking about starting in the wood fire, and then he'd throw it in his deck oven to crisp it up a little bit more.
so that's what Chris Bianco is doing for delivery now because he never
Oh,
did
right.
delivery before.
Gotcha. So just
Good
see
question.
follow up. He's getting his Alpha oven, ALFA oven,
Yeah.
last week, and he's wondering about recommending just first dough to start with for a chewy crust. A chewy
Okay.
crust.
Let's try that one. So
He's.
as far as I could tell, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong. I think
Mhm.
the Alpha ovens are wood-fired ovens, aren't they?
I have no idea. I'll look
Why
it up
don't you
right
look
now.
those guys
Yeah.
up? I don't know if they come in a gas version, but I'm pretty sure I've seen a bunch of different sizes, and I've never used one, but I think they're wood-fired ovens. So what I
Oh
would say
yeah,
with something like that is if you want something chewy, then you probably want a higher protein American style flour. And
Some of them
so
look like they're gas. Some of them look like
yeah,
they're.
that's why
But
I was hoping you
that'll
would
be a
look.
nice oven. I'll just chew on my envy. I'll be like you
There you
said. You
go.
like chewy crust. I'm chewing on this envy crust over here.
So what I would say is with something like that, don't blast the pizzas to
Mm,
start. A lot of
yeah.
those really small ovens, depending on the diameter of the interior, if you blast them, then you're not going to get anything that's too crispy. And definitely not crunchy. So if you want to get a nice even bottom and top bake, I would err on the side of lower temperature.
Mm.
Shoot for like a 3 or 4 minute bake as opposed to a 1 or 2 minute bake, which are really easy in those tiny little ovens when you blast them. Chewier to me usually means more of like an American style bread flour as opposed to like a Neapolitan style 00.
Mhm.
I would say also longer fermentation will give you something a little more chewy as opposed to like a short temperature.
Yeah.
Sorry, a lower temp. I got to start that one again.
Hmm.
So with the American style, what I would say is you want something with a longer fermentation, probably refrigerated as opposed to a short fermentation, more room style. You'll get more chewiness, more fermentation out of that. Other from that, I would say you want to experiment with either malted American flour or unmalted, kind of Italian style flour. So the browning will be affected by the malt. Um, a lot of times with those little hybrid ovens, like wood style oven with gas, sometimes you want to mix flours.
Hmm.
So Justin and I like to mix 00 with American bread flour. We like to mix Caputo flour with King Arthur flour.
I do
We
that all
like
the time.
I like to put in some nice whole wheat and rye flour. So Central Milling is a great company for that. There's a lot of great flours out there. We work with a lot of different mills doing a lot of beautiful flours. Kevin
Cairns,
up at Cairn
Cairns
Springs,
Springs.
he does some really nice stuff. He was giving us some really cool discounts back in November. So yeah, Cairn Springs is a great mill to check out because what they're doing is super professional artisan style flours, and they just started selling their flours in smaller bags.
1 kilos. Yeah.
1 kilos, yeah. So the shipping isn't cheap, but if you consider the quality you're getting and the love and the just the variety that you can get of heirloom wheats, I think it's worth it. It gets a little expensive with shipping, but if you do the price, it's probably twice as expensive as supermarket flour all in, but you're only talking about $1 for a pizza if you do the size we do for a supermarket flour. So $2 for like world class quality flour is not a bad deal. Yeah, so that would be my best answer for.
Good.
It's a tough question, a good one though.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Um, I'm excited about that. That oven looks great, CB. Uh, she is going to be cooking up some lovely pizza pies. Here we go. All right, Tim Gillis. No classes yet. All right, Timmy. Hopefully soon. Haven't heard many people talking about auto leasing. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. I got an auto lease. Here we go. Auto lease on this bad boy. Bam 'em. Look at that sweet silver Saturn. That's an '05 model, ladies and germs. '05. Got my auto lease paid off every month. $22 to my credit union every
Justin,
month.
if you give away all your best bits, who's going to take the beginner or the intermediate class?
It's all right. It's all right.
Really?
Here we go. No. They love it. It's like a hug. It's like a pizza hug.
Oh, I get it.
Okay, so auto lasing is important. It is something I've heard that is important from baking books, and I've certainly gotten different results from adding yeast during that process as well. Adding yeast during the auto lease. Any options regarding an auto lease? Any ideas? Tim Gillis.
Well, there's a lot of ways to answer that question. So, number one, don't put yeast in before the auto lease, or it's not an auto lease. All right, yeast comes after the auto lease. Number one. Number two, you can put sourdough starter in before. That's fine. The auto lease is often used in artisan style bread making, and I know more and more pizza makers that are using it. The idea is the auto lease allows the flour to absorb the water, and depending on how you do it and how long you do it, you can also cut down on your mixing time. And by cutting down on your mixing time, you're preserving flavor, color, and aroma, and also potentially adding to extensibility, which is a good thing for baguettes. It's a good thing for pizza, but you don't want to overdo it. So it's really just a matter of balancing things out. So we use an auto lease in the beginner class, and we do a relatively deep dive into the auto lease process in the intermediate class, and in the advanced class, which we haven't taught in a while. That's a word. Advanced one, we talk about like advanced auto lease hacks. So ways to use the auto lease that were not originally part of the deal that we found work really well if you're going high on hydration, or you're going long on fermentation, or you need ways to learn to control fermentation kind of on the fly. So we love the auto lease. It's one of the techniques we talk about the most, and learning to use artisan bread techniques in pizza making is one of my favorite passions. Do you have a favorite passion?
Pastime? Favorite pastime?
Oh, it's one of my favorite pizza pastimes. Thank you,
There you
Justin.
go.
I thought you
And
said you were good at everything but words and numbers.
I'm good at finding twinsies out in the wild. Look at that day.
Really are.
Look at that. Bam 'em. This is me. You can tell by the little OBX sticker. And this, I don't know. Twinsies. Sweet Silver
Twinsies. I
Saturn.
like it.
Kicking it. Kicking
Justin,
it.
you use an auto lease?
Yeah, I do. I use a 20-minute auto lease.
Good.
I like a 20-minute auto lease. It just makes me, my mix is good. My mix is good to go.
20 minutes goes a long way. Yep.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. For anybody, I just put it in the chat. King Arthur has a pretty nice blog about the auto lease process and what it does, and they have different times and techniques. Tim, you can check that out. But I love the auto lease. It just means, like Noel says, you're You're not over mixing it, which we don't want to do. And mixing, if you're mixing by hand, you might not get as much temperature. But if you're over mixing it in the mixer, you're going to get too high, and then you're going to lose control of the fermentato, which you don't want to do. You don't want to do that.
I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it.
Justin, I got a question for you now.
Okay, shoot.
So, what do you think if we start promoting people to panelist?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's after 6, and we can turn this into more of a roundtable discussion where people can ask their own questions. Is it too soon for that?
Yeah, usually we do that in about 20 minutes. We do that at like 6:30.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've been. The last half an hour is a free for all.
Oh, last half. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Is that? I mean, I can do it earlier. I mean,
I'm just asking. I don't keep track like you. You're the official timekeeper, right? What
darn
time is
right
it?
I am. 6:10.
Good to know.
Good to know. All right,
You're
here
on
we go.
it, Justin. You're on it.
Florence here. She's taken the beginner 1 and 2.
Ooh, Florence.
Thank you, Florence. So this is a good question. Yeah, Gary. Yeah, I break the rules. I do break the rules. That's funny. All right, Florence is asking. I've tried to make pizza with whole wheat flour, and it did not grow as much, and it was much harder to work with. Let's talk about that. What would be some of the reasons for that? Whole wheat flour, stronger, soaks up more water. Maybe you need a little bit more water. You know, I use whole wheat in my dough, but I never go more than 8% in my total flour for my pizza. I want a hint of it. I don't want too much of it. I want a little bit of that flavor. I want people to be like, oh my goodness, what is that? But if you're doing 100% whole wheat flour pizza dough, it's going to be a brick because it soaks up a ton more water. You need more water. You need to water it. No?
Justin, I don't like the way you call a whole wheat pizza a brick. Take it back. Apologize.
It's going to be a brick. It's
Oh,
going to, you
I'm
lose.
going to mute you, Justin.
You
Do
lose
me a
some
favor.
too.
Read the question again, which is your job. You muted yourself. I see what you did there, Justin.
Okay.
Read the
So-
question again.
Florence is saying, I tried to make pizza with whole wheat flour,
Good.
and it didn't grow as much, and it was much harder to work with.
Okay.
Why?
Good. Well, it doesn't grow as much, probably because it needs more water, like Justin said. And so, because it drinks up more water, it's probably going to be less extensible and more strong. So it will be fermenting, but it won't growing because it's too strong and not extensible enough. So, depending on what kind of whole wheat you might have used, if it was 100% whole wheat or type 85 or whatever grind it was, or however much of the bran and the germ were milled out, you might want to go 5, 10, even 15% higher on the hydration, and then you'll get something a little more similar to maybe white wheat that you're used to. A couple of things. When I'm using whole wheat, I like to use sourdough as well. I can go both ways. I can get really nice results not using natural fermentation with white wheat flour, but when I'm using whole wheat flour, I feel like the flavor profile is just lacking unless I have sourdough in there. Now, one of the things that sourdough does also is it makes the dough more extensible, right? And I find that it's easier to handle as well. So if you're using a yeasted whole wheat flour, like Justin says, it's somewhat brick-like, and so I would suggest adding whole wheat and more flour as well. Final answer. Sorry, more water as well. Justin.
There we go, Florence. Whole wheat flour can be a lot. Maybe scale it and maybe add a little bit more water.
Yeah. Also, Justin says 8%. I would say 15 to 20% would be what I would like to do. It really depends on the kind of whole wheat flour you're using. I've gone as high as 40 or 50% with a lot of sourdough, and it will change the color and to an extent the flavor. But if you learn to control fermentation and blend flours appropriately, you can get a really beautiful pizza that even people like Justin will eat.
There you go. Healthy pizza. I'm trying to stay away. Gary is asking, why does the live intermediate number 2 require a deep dish pan? Okay, so I'm not sure what live intermediate 2 is, but it's probably going to be this Adam Kuban one where we do the bar style type pizza, and that is traditionally cooked in a deep dish pan.
Stop using that word deep dish. That's not a term. Doesn't
That's
exist.
what That's what Gary's saying. He's saying it's a
Well,
deep
I
dish
would
pan.
say you could use the term pizza pan. There's pie pan. I
Lloyd,
wouldn't.
Lloyd says deep dish pizza pan. So I
Joel,
think
you
Gary,
use the word deep dish to describe all kinds of things. Even your wife, Justin. All right.
it's deep dish.
No, your wife is not deep dish. She's a
So,
dish, but
woo,
she's not a deep dish.
woo, she's a deep dish if you know what I mean. Look at the crust on
Justin,
that.
you're getting us in trouble.
Woo.
So here's the thing. Let's not let deep dish is a kind of pan pizza. Don't indiscriminately call everything deep dish.
All right, so
You're
I'm
gonna
going to go to
confuse
Lloyd.
me.
I'm going to go to Lloyd's Pans right now,
You can go to anywhere you want, Justin, but
and
here's
it
what I'm telling
says
you. Oh,
deep
I
dish
know.
pans,
You're very
and
good.
that's what
You're very good at,
That's what Gary is asking about.
but hold on. Let's
I went
not
to
confuse
I went
the
to Lloyd's
host,
Bank
Noel.
instead.
I went to Lloyd's Bank instead. All right, so yes, to answer the question, we are doing a class with Adam Kuban on bar style pizza, and those particular pizzas are cooked in pans at the beginning of the bake, and then they are depanned and finished right on the hearth. So if you want to do a class with us and Adam, he recommends a specific style of Lloyd's. Justin's going to say deep dish pan. Fine, call it what you want. I'm not going to call it that. And you can use it if you want, or if you've already got a pan at home that you want to try to use, you can do it that way as well. There's something really nice, a beautiful crispy quality that you get from the thin crust pizza that Adam's going to teach us to prepare, where you roll it out and then you just kind of gently oil the pan, sometimes with olive oil, sometimes with Crisco. You can use all kinds of stuff. The combination of a lightly oiled pan where you do probably 3/4 to maybe 90% of the bake and then finishing it right on the hearth gives you a crispy crust that is unparalleled in modern pizza making. Would you not agree, Justin?
No, it's delicious. It is delicious, and Adam is a pioneer in the pizza game.
He's a pioneer.
So I would recommend.
In fact,
taking that.
if I'm correct, I believe Adam is going to start promoting that class tonight.
This is the Lloyd's website. It says right here, deep dish pizza.
I mean, Justin, I would like to see the entire website and the whole page because I don't
just
trust
telling
you.
you.
I don't trust you, Justin.
That is the Lloyd's. Yeah, pizza pans, baking
Justin,
service.
you use
dish.
the word deep dish to describe things that are not deep or even dishy. All right. I'm calling a spade a spade. You're a little loose sometimes, Justin. You're a little loose.
You darn right I am. It's the way I live. It's a rule of thumb, baby. All right. So let us continue this party that is not all folks. All right. So Florence is asking just extra question. How much sourdough should I use? How much sourdough starter? Well, it depends on scaling. We had this question earlier. If you were doing the New York style pizza and the recipe at 1,000 grams of flour, you'd be using 2 grams of instant dry yeast. You multiply that by 100. So you would be using 200 grams of starter. However, you need to subtract 100 grams of flour. So you would only be using 900 grams of flour for the recipe, and you need to subtract 100 grams of water. So you would only be adding 550 grams of water to the overall recipe to make up for the 100 grams of flour and the 100 grams of water that are already in your starter. Florence, hope you got that. Okay. Tim. Tim. Oh, RBA. Are you Richmond? I'm from Richmond. I'm from Richmond. Baby, you're in Richmond. You know who said that? The Beatles. Baby, you're in Richmond too. I grew up in Richmond. I love Richmond. Really great stuff happening there these days. Everybody, here we go. Tim, I'm following you right now. Tim's Pizza, RVA. I love it, dude. Great. I grew up in the Fan, went to VCU. All right. So Gary, it looks like the next intermediate class is deep dish based upon, okay, here we go, based upon the link to the Lloyd's Pan. Is that correct? Oh, okay. Whoa, listen to this. Gary's coming at you. So
the answer is no. The answer is no.
The answer is no. It is a bar style pizza class. That means
that may or may not utilize a deep dish pan.
Oh, see, you just said it. And Noel, what did you do in the music business? Gary really wants to know. Here we go.
Let's see.
Ran a club. He ran a club.
Justin, can I answer my own questions?
No, no.
Let's go back to the basics. You ask the questions and I answer. All this answering is not doing you any good because you just
Okay.
answer a piece of a question and then you like duck out.
I'll be right
You just
back.
duck out. Yeah. We'll see you in a minute, Justin. I got
Yeah.
this.
Hey, don't mind me.
Guys, every time we get ready for this class, I say, Justin, do me a favor. You answer the question. I ask the questions. You answer.
Ta-da! This is
And then
good.
Justin started. He likes to ask and answer all the questions. And you know what he really likes to do? Justin, keep hiding. He likes. I'll get a 3-part question. He'll answer the third part, half the second, and then toss it up to me. I can't even remember what he asked. All right, Justin, you ask, I answer. That's the format.
So Gary, they will continue to if you go to Thermapen and give them your email, they will hit you up with a percentage off. I think my friend just got it for 30% off. It was like $43. Anyway,
in a nutshell, Justin, I started out as an assistant. I moved up to a ranger. I ended up doing music videos for VH1. I got into production. I was stage manager of a jazz festival, PA, production assistant, line producer, and then, long story short, ended up in LA and owned and operated a nightclub for a better part of 10 years. And in between, I gigged as a jazz pianist and whatever else I could get paid to do.
Awesome.
Final answer.
There you go. So Kevin is saying, I haven't taken any classes yet. Okay,
Good.
Kev. But I am curious if you have any classes or recipes for Cleveland style pizza. Cleveland style. All I know is that Cleveland rocks. And if they have a style, I bet you that rocks as well. I haven't found much online, and I know maybe it's not a specific pizza style, but being from there and having moved away, I miss it. Some examples would be Angelo's of Lakewood, Zeppi's, Master Pizza, Geraci's. Do you know anything about Cleveland style pizza, dog?
You know what? I do not actually, and so
maybe we'll bring
funny.
Kevin over. Hey, Kev, you want to come over?
Maybe we should, because I'm gonna put something in the chat here. So, I have not spent a lot of time in Ohio. Let me put this in the chat real quick. So, Adam Kuban, our friend, did a kind of a map of some of his favorite styles. And so I definitely know about that one. I'm going to put that in the right now. So I also know that I have been to Ohio a few times, and I think it really depends on what city you're in, right? So maybe Cleveland has a style, but if it does, I really don't know what it is. So you know what would be fun? Maybe he could put some. I know he mentioned some names. Maybe he could put some of those in the chat.
We have an Ohio Valley style.
We do have Ohio Valley style, and that one I know a little bit. That's like a church lady kind of mom and pop style, medium thick crust pizza, cooked sauce, regional cheeses.
Well, let's bring Kevin on. Hey, Kev, once you
peppers, onions.
I'm going to bring you on because I'm interested. We're always interested. Like when we say pizza, it means so many different things, and that's why it's very subjective too. The pizza that I like to bake and eat might not necessarily be the pizza that you like to be. What's up, Kev? Hey, if you can you unmute, my friend? Because now you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Cleveland style pizza. Yeah, talk to us.
So I would say it's sort of doughy, like more similar to like a grandma's pie. It kind of has like a thickness, but it has a buttery crust to it. And I'm not really sure what type of pans they use. But I was back home over the holidays and, got to enjoy them when I was back home. And, I started looking online to see if I could find something. I was trying to find some links to send you guys, but I just figured if we like on their Instagram, I know those places have it. I was just curious if there's anything that you guys have that's like it, or if there's another pizza style that you think I could use that might work.
Do me a favor, Kevin. Have you put any links to any of those places in the chat?
I haven't.
Why don't you do that? Or you know what would be great? Find me a photo. Give me a link to a photo that we can look at, and maybe we could do some investigation on the spot and see if we can see like some of the styles based on some of the markings we see.
Okay, I'm just on my phone, so that's the hard part.
I hear you. So we were actually at the Pizza Expo last year. We were going to do an Ohio Valley style pizza demo with a guy I knew, and it was funny because Ever since I saw that on the list of Adam Kuban's, I didn't know what it was, and I looked at some pictures and I see a lot of cheese and a lot of dough, and then I was doing I don't know why I was up late one night and I got on YouTube looking for it, and I found some old ladies in a church making it, right, and it wasn't just like one or two old ladies; it was a bunch of old ladies doing a church sale, and it was a lot of dough and a lot of sauce and a lot of cheese and a lot of happy smiling faces.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's the kind of pizza that your grandma would make for you, right? And it looks a lot to me like a home style pizza, but I know that what I think, because I'm from California, probably doesn't have much to do with reality. And I'll bet you there's a whole lot of pizzerias in Ohio that are making that stuff. So yeah, it looks like a medium thick crust pizza, a lot of cheese. I would say it has a cooked sauce. That's what
Okay.
it looks like to me. That's more like a pasta sauce, and a lot of those are just like cooked down. They like to use peppers, they like to use onions, they like to use, some sugar. Who knows? They might even put some red wine in there. So, a cooked sauce is a whole nother thing. A lot of people like cooked sauce on pizza. I wouldn't say it's good or it's bad. I would say it's depending on your region and depending on your taste.
Okay.
Right? As far as butter in the crust, I wouldn't put it by them. I wouldn't put it by my grandma to put some butter in the crust. I think butter is like an act of love when you put olive oil or butter or even Crisco, right?
Yeah, I did see one that was talking about putting actual shortening inside of it.
Absolutely.
And they seem to get some results from it. But I just wasn't sure. You talked earlier about having like longer fermentations to get that, doughier type texture to it versus the crispiness. And I wasn't
here's
sure
what I'll
if
say,
it was the same.
Kevin. When I look at that pizza, I would say it's like a no fermentation dough. I would
Okay.
say they make it in the morning and by the afternoon it's pizza.
Okay.
And those are often really soft and doughy, and people really love those, right?
Yeah.
But they don't really have much. They don't really last too long. So if you bake it in the afternoon, you should probably eat it in the afternoon. And if you're gonna reheat it at night, you better have a good technique, or it might be a little dried out. Because the fermentation is like an insurance policy that it's gonna last, right? It's gonna have some shelf life. I think those pizzas are like low tech pizzas, lots of yeast, fast rise, all
Check
white
out
flour.
this is Zeppy's here. Look at what they do with their
awesome,
crust. Look at that.
That to me reeks of shortening, right? It looks like it's
it
got to have
almost looks like a pie crust.
Sure does.
Cooked in some kind of like fancy pan.
It looks like a pie pan, yeah.
Yeah.
So you think a pie pan would be something good to cook it in as well?
I do.
Okay.
I do. You get really beautiful texture when you have that beveling that goes along the crust.
That's really. It almost looks like what are those pastries that have the little? Huh.
Justin, you remember we did the focaccia pugliese with Katie Parla?
A quiche. Okay. Yeah, somebody's saying a quiche pan.
Like a quiche pan.
Might be. Yeah. Fernando. Yeah.
But the pugliese that we did, Rob from Toronto, right? Chef Rob, he pulled out these pizza pugliese pans, and they were a lot like that. So a cross between a pie pan and a quiche pan, if you will. So I mean, all those are good. I like the idea of. I think a nice old pan would do well, right? You could probably do some nice damage in a cast iron pan or a pie pan or a quiche pan. Try it out. I think the idea behind those pizzas is you put a lot of love into it and don't worry too much about the fermentation and err on the side of too much corn oil or too much butter, if I had to say. Right? Maybe some lard or some grease.
I love it.
And then cooking them at, lower temperatures, maybe 350, 400, something like that, or
I would say 400, 425 is a good temperature. You can go 350. Man, it takes a long time to cook a pizza at 350. I've seen people do pizzas at 350, but I feel like they take like 40 minutes.
Okay.
And they end up staying nice and soft, right?
Yeah.
I guess it depends how you top them. If you like to heavily top your pizza, you're gonna have to cook it forever.
Yeah, I mean, you call them and they usually have it ready in 15 to 20 minutes. So I would assume that they're cooking it at probably a higher temperature than that. Also to get
me some more pictures. Get me some more pictures.
Okay.
I want to see.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Kev.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, brother.
Thanks, Kev.
All right, here we go. I can hear myself. I can hear myself. Great. All right. So it's 6:30. I'm going to start bringing people over. Um, Billy's asking. He sees people talking about beginner 2. So the beginner class is a 2-part class. So it's part 1 where we make it, and then part 2 is where we bake it. So maybe when people are saying part 1 and part 2, it's of that class. But the beginner it's split over 2 days. You got it. The next beginner class is tomorrow. And tomorrow we will do our mix. And then Wednesday night, we have a mother stinking pizza party. So there you go, Bill. All right, here we go. Kathleen, similar question about Staten Island, New York style pizza.
Good.
Joe and Pat's Pizzeria Giove.
Joe and Pat's is historic. I love that place. I've been only once. It was great, really good, thin crust pizza. I don't think they're doing anything there that is like artisan, right? I think they started with a good recipe, hopefully still using it today. Probably using a lot of the same, flours that they're using in New York. They got to keep their prices down so they're not going crazy, breaking the bank with artisan flours. It's not high hydration. It's a really nice thin crust pizza. It has, if I remember correctly, I think they were using sliced cheese, but I can't remember. It's been so long. It was part of like a five pizzeria tour that we took ourselves on. Yeah, that's like classic thin crust pizza, like not very heavily topped, perfect ratios. That's the really important part of those styles.
All right.
Perfect
Hey, Kathleen.
ratios.
Hey.
So guys, do me a
Yeah.
favor when you come on, before you ask questions, just make sure to mute yourself, and then
Yeah, I'm promoting everybody to
there you go.
panelists.
So when you come on, just
Sorry.
make sure you come on with. No, it's okay.
Not at all.
We just want to make
talking,
sure
We're
we
talking
want to hear
about
from all you, but not at the same time.
and we're talking about your question as it is.
Perfect.
So, and you were saying you hear a lot of slapping. So the stretching
Yeah.
technique.
Totally. Like at Pizzeria Giove, it's another one on the island.
Yeah.
Super thin crust as well. But they have some really interesting toppings. So I prefer them a little over Joe and Pat's if you're ever in the area. Try them again. But yeah, when you're there, you definitely hear like a slapping technique as they're like stretching out the dough. But I don't know. I haven't really seen that before.
Hey, Kathleen, can you put
Yeah.
a link to a picture of maybe a pizza that you think is representative of that style so we can all look at it?
Yeah, totally.
That would be great.
Awesome.
Thank
Just
you.
put it in the chat, and maybe I'll put it up behind me if everybody
There you
is down with that.
So I know that Scott from Scott's Pizza Tours, I believe he started up a website called Pizza Resource Center, and one of the things he's selling on that site are really cool T-shirts. So I think he just released a T-shirt this week from Joe and Pat's, if I'm not mistaken. And so I think it's really cool what he's doing there. There's so many amazing pizzerias. Has anybody here ever been on any of Scott's Pizza Tours? Back in the day, he had a red school bus that he bought, and he, besides doing tours of like the iconic pizzas of like Manhattan, he likes to go to the outer boroughs. He goes to Queens, he goes to Staten Island, he goes to the Bronx, he goes to Long Island, he goes all over the place. So I feel like a lot of the Manhattan pizzerias get all the accolades, but there's a lot of great mom and pop pizzerias that have been, kind of famous in their neighborhoods for decades that maybe don't get the attention they need. So I love all those outer borough pizzerias. Jostan.
Heck yeah. All right. So we're going to get some, Kathleen is going to get us some pictures of that. So here we go. Gregory, I see you right there, my friend, Mr. Gillespie. I have a question for your beginner class. What is the benefit of portioning and balling your dough the day before versus the day of making your pizzas? If you are fermenting it in the same for the same time either way, I've been bulk fermenting for 5 days, and then balling the day of. Any thoughts on that?
All right. So here's what I would say. The traditional way to do a New York pizza or even a Neapolitan pizza is to mix it and do no bulk fermentation. Just divide it, ball it, stick it in the fridge or let it sit out, and it's pizza, right? That gets you a very extensible pizza, not too strong, not too much structure, nice and thin crust. But a lot of people these days are craving a little more structure in their crust, in their crumb. So what we try to do in the beginner class is we give people 3 options, right? The first option would be to ball it immediately after bulk fermentation, right? And you get the most extensibility and the least amount of structure, right? The second option is to wait till the end of the night and then ball it then. You get a little more structure, a little less extensibility, right? And that's an awesome option. A third option is you ball it the next day and you get even more structure, but maybe less extensibility. You can take it to the next level and bulk ferment for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days. That's more of a Roman pizza strategy, or maybe a bread strategy, or just maybe a crazy strategy. I happen to like that strategy. I like a long bulk, but you got to be really careful with it. So for New York pizza, you really would never bulk longer than overnight, and that's for like a 2.0. For traditional New York pizza, I wouldn't really bulk for more than an hour, maybe 2 if you're using sourdough, right? And then you ball up pretty much immediately. But if you want to get to the next level and try to find your own voice in any of the pizza styles you're doing, I say go for a longer bulk. But you got to be careful. If your flour is too strong and you're not using enough hydration, when you try to stretch out that 18-inch pizza after doing a 2-day bulk, you might only get a 16-inch pizza. And that's happened to me before. So you got to be really careful. But if you're just making pizza for home and you want to do something fun and see how it works, I'm all for longer bulk. Justin?
Yeah, that snapback sometimes will get you. So here's the one that Kevin was talking about. This is a Cleveland style. I just want to go back there. Looks delicious. Looks really good. Look at that. Look at those burnt little Roni dogs. Look at that crispy, buttery crust. Somebody was talking about just in the Q&A over here, saying, what was he saying? Saying about Gary was jumping in saying Vito and Nick's, their thin crust tavern style in Chicago, they might use milk in their dough. It was maybe shown in diners, drive-ins, and dives, but the owner says that's a farce. Anybody here? Anybody ever use milk in their pizza? No, milk, beer, other little things. Fernando?
Yeah, milk is great. They use it in some of the tavern style pizzas in Chicago. I've been to Vito and Nick's. It was awesome. That was at the end of like a day where we did all pizza tasting, and I was like, I can't eat another pizza. And then we finished the pizza. It was amazing.
So
milk is good. It makes the dough soft. It gives the crust a little extra color from the fat. I really like it. They use it in Roman style pizza. They use it in tavern style pizza, and probably a bunch of other pizzas that I've never heard of.
So to me, if this is Cleveland style, that other one, Zeppi's with the fancy crust, these look a little different. I mean, this looks delicious to me. No, how would you categorize that
They
one?
both look like pan pizzas to me, which is great. And I'll bet you they both have a really crispy, crunchy crust, which is great. If I had to say, that other one probably used some kind of shortening, right? Because I don't know how else you get the crust to kind of stick to all those little ridges. That would be really hard without shortening, either in the crust or in the pan. So I know that, for instance, in a lot of the pizzerias in Chicago, they use corn oil, for instance, in their doors, or some kind of vegetable oil, as opposed to the more expensive olive oil. So I'm sure they use milk, because there's a lot of dairies in the Midwest, right? So I wouldn't, maybe even butter.
Yeah.
I love me a butter crust. How about you guys?
I'm down with that. Fernando's saying naan bread has milk in the dough. Naan.
True. Milk,
There we go.
yogurt, absolutely.
There we go. So now we're going to move over. I'm going to do the background for Kathleen here.
Ooh.
You just
Justin,
choose
I like
this
how
one.
you're doing this. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm multitasking. I'm
Sure.
just trying to.
You look very handsome. You look like you're almost a pizza
It's
topping.
like you guys are going to eat me on the pizza. It's like
What?
who gets
Get
that
off my
special
pizza.
who gets that special bite with Justin. That's the magical bite, everybody.
Oh man, I don't know if any of us can afford that bite, Justin.
No, I know, it's very expensive.
So what is that one right there that we're looking at?
So I think that this is Kathleen. Do you want to unmute and talk to us about this?
Yeah, so that's from Pizzeria Giove in New Dorp, Staten Island.
Ooh,
that's
that
like their
looks
white
good.
pie with like,
Yeah, we
it's
love
got some kind of like ham with zucchini slice on top. Yeah,
That looks
some
nice.
kind of smoked, preserved.
You know what kind of oven they're using? Because they're getting a nice bake on that thing.
I
color.
think it's like a deck oven.
Just a regular like gas deck oven, huh? That's really nice.
Yeah.
Is
I
it one of
think
those
so.
really old pizzerias where maybe the deck oven's like 75 years old and it goes up to 650 degrees?
I don't know if they're that old.
It looks like a nice pie.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice pie, super thin.
And they're shaving their zucchini or their
We
squash right
love
on top raw,
zucchini on
right?
pizza. We love zucchini on
Yeah,
pizza.
they've
And what kind of cheese do you see there? That looks like a nice combo, right?
yeah. I mean, I'm sure we could go on the website and find out like exactly what is on that pie.
Looks good to me.
But I think this pie is like, so they've been on like Bobby Flay's, like when he used to do the throwdown stuff, and so this was
Yeah.
like the pie that they won or whatever their challenge.
Oh,
Wow, that's a nice looking
Yeah,
pie. And it's super
I wish I
thin,
could tell
huh?
you more about it. Yeah, it's super thin. Yeah, so the whole thing is like, I know they're using like what active dry yeast, probably whatever, like a basic formula, but I wonder like how many grams it is and like this slapping technique. I don't know. Is that something you've used before or come
I
across?
mean, we like to slap our pizza around. You should know this about us. So
hey, whoa.
we do like a Neapolitan slapping technique, but there's a lot of slapping
I
techniques.
feel like I've seen a lot. So the Neapolitan is kind of the stretch, pat, stretch, flip over your hand, and then turn. Now, I've seen a lot of guys in New York kind of like they pick up and they kind of go back and forth in the air with their hands. And I'm just wondering if maybe that was some of the slapping that you would hear, that kind of back and forth slapping to
I need a picture or a video. I want to see how they're slapping their pizza
I
around.
know. Possibly on the internet somewhere. But it's definitely it feels or it sounds more like a constant pounding.
Are they
than
slapping
just
it in
slapping.
the air or are they slapping
No,
it
it's
on the
like
table?
on the counter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some guys are doing this circular thing like this. Other guys are kind of
Mhm.
passing it back and forth like that.
Yeah.
I'd have to see it.
Yeah. Maybe I can find a
You
video.
can email me
Mhm.
info at Slow Rise Pizza, and who knows,
Okay.
maybe we'll end up doing a class on this particular style. I mean, I'm all for regional styles, and
Yeah.
if it looks compelling, I'll bet you're not the only one who's inspired by it.
Yeah. Right
Right?
on. That's cool.
That's really
Awesome.
cool. Thank you for bringing
Yeah.
that to our attention.
Mm.
I wish I could be in New
I
York
know.
palling around with Scott Wiener or anybody who will take me. No, these little neighborhood
Yeah.
pizzerias are the best, and it's impossible to find some of them. You know.
I mean, that was what we did. I mean, we did with Adam Kuban. We did Choose Your Own Adventure, and most of them were just in, the different boroughs that we popped around the tri-state area, definitely. So, and all the different ways of, presenting pizza. And that's one thing that we love it. It's just so subjective. And when you say pizza, it means so many different things to so many different people. So, and I'll try them all, let's say. So, all right. Awesome, Kathleen. I'm going to ask you to mute
Thanks, guys.
again. Yeah, of course. All right. So Fernando is saying, does going higher in the starter make the pizza taste better? How high can you go using the starter? Good question, Fernando.
So I wouldn't say that the more starter you use, the better. I would say that with pizza, the range of starter that most people use is anywhere from about 1 or 2% for a room temperature rise to maybe 15% for a refrigerated rise. So that's the range. Now, if you're doing a same day dough, right, with starter, you can go up to 40%, right? Or if you want a lot of acidity, or you're using or you're using whole wheat flour, a lot of it, again, 40 or 50% will work really well. I think you have to use your own palate, and you have to be really careful with sourdough, because if you lose control of the fermentation, then it's not just the fermentation like with yeasted dough. You lose control of the acidity too. So I work with a chef here in LA named Ori, and he has a couple of restaurants, including Bestia. And when we first opened, we were doing basically like a Cal Neapolitan pizza. Had a lot in common with Neapolitan pizza, Neapolitan oven, and a lot of like Italian-inspired ingredients, toppings, even some Italian flour. But we went higher on the hydration, and we used sourdough. And one of the things that we noticed was that when it would get really acidic, you really had to balance it out with a lot of salt and acid and fat and really flavorful toppings. But I think that same pizza, if you take out some of the sourdough starter, maybe go down below 10%, even closer to 5, and just a tiny bit of yeast, maybe in the form of a pouliche, you bring down that acidity, and it allows you more breadth of flavor because you're not like held back by all that acidity. You don't have to constantly balance it out with other flavors. So really, it's a really advanced question, and it's hard to answer that. Everybody has to have their own. Justin, what do you call it?
Their pizza equation.
Pizza equation. Yeah,
It's not 2 words. It's pizza equation,
pizza equation.
not
But
pizza. You don't even have to say the e. Pizza
pizza equation.
equation.
Very Italian sounding.
There you
But
go.
that said, let me just answer
Hey.
that. More sourdough doesn't mean more flavor for sure, right? More fermentation means more flavor, right? More salt might mean more flavor, but more sourdough doesn't mean more flavor. It means more rising power, more acidity, and maybe less shelf life, because more is more when it comes to sourdough. Final answer.
I love putting salt in my dough, but we've already talked about that. So, awesome, Fern. All right. Gary's saying, Noel, have some similar backgrounds, used to live in LA and worked in the biz as well.
What?
Hey, Gary. Okay.
Hi, Gary. Yeah, Gary and I have been chatting a little bit. Gary, sorry, I can't take calls or respond to too many emails these days. I'm under the gun. So thanks for coming, and thanks for asking all those great questions today. Come on back next week if you have more questions.
Yeah.
Guys, I wish I could answer all your questions the way I used to, but I'm just like under the gun.
Hey, well, with growth comes consequences, Noel.
I know, right?
Okay.
I don't mind doing these office hours. These are great.
His poor little fingies got so tired from all the typing he was doing.
Can't work fast enough. I can't do it all.
So he can't make pizza anymore because little fingies typing so much. So you guys, that's why we're doing the office hours.
Come on, Justin.
Okay, here we go. Gary, we're bringing it home. Gary's had. It looks like Gary was maybe dabbled in the music business too. I don't know.
Interesting.
Gary. Okay, so when you discuss Roman style pizza, do you mean pizza all'Italia or more like a banchi pie or a tonda?
So it could mean a lot of things. So there's probably 5 or 6 different Roman versions of pizza that I know of. So the Altaglio, right, or pizza al taglio, as we like to say in America, is pizza by the slice or pizza by the cut, right? And that's a pan pizza usually, like Bonci style. Now Bonci takes it to the next level because he does pizza al taglio, long fermentation, super high hydration, incredible topping. So that's kind of like one version of it. The pizza tonda style is a much lower hydration pizza. It's baked directly on the hearth, not in a pan. And I think it's a really, really wonderful pizza. It actually has a lot in common with some of the Chicago tavern style or the New York metropolitan area, bar style pizzas. So I like that one too. And there's a number of other hearth style pizzas from Rome that you'll find at like Campo dei Fiori, right? They do those big long. I don't know if they call them pizza al metro. I think it's pizza bianca alla romana. It's one of the names they call them. But it's a hearth style, maybe 80% hydration dough. So there's a lot of great doughs that come out of Rome, and we only know just a few of them. Where's Katie Parlow when you need her?
I know, right? Are you going to do another jam with her?
She's on the list. She's hard to pin down.
Just so you know, this is the Amazon link here. Thank you, Gary. See where it says deep dish Lloyd pan? Just so
Justin,
you know.
You know what? Like a broken clock, you're right twice a day, and you want everybody
Gary's
to know.
helping me out. See, guys, right there. It says deep dish, and here's the pan, and it says brand Lloyd. There you go.
Justin, we should celebrate you more than twice a day. More than twice a day.
Hey, sometimes. So, Gary, thank you for that. Live answers, guys. Well, it seems like seems like I think we got to the end of the Q&A. So if you have any questions, just kind of like raise your hand or this and that, and we'll maybe open it up for the last 15 minutes or so and just kind of go over there are any other things, or you can just listen to me talk about nonsense, which isn't horrible, as far
pretty
as
horrible, Justin.
All right. Well, why don't we talk? Gary. Yeah, unmute, bud. Yeah.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and thank you very much. Great to see you again. Thanks, Noel, for circling back with me. Real quick, if at all possible, I mentioned it last week, and I don't know if this would be helpful for the rest, but I like to keep like little notes I asked about books previously and tomatoes, obviously. With some of the things that you're highlighting as well, is it possible, like, for example, on the on-demand, like Adam pointed out something amazing, like as far as like grande cheese East Coast blend, which was very helpful of knowing the 50-50, something like that as a list. I don't know if you gave that originally to all the participants or like at the end of it, compiling something like that. Like we use like Thermapen, for example. We prefer Cambros or Rubbermaid containers. Where can you get these things? These are the specific flours. I don't know if I'm throwing too much. I'm just asking.
No. I mean, it's a lot. Here's the thing. Like these classes that we started doing 6 months ago, we're actually trying not to be so specific with people because people are having so many problems sourcing so many things right now. And I know that you have a hunger for all of these details, but a lot of people kind of feel like, well, if I need all these things for this class, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take it. And I answer a lot of emails every day where people think, oh, I need this flour or this pan or this mixer. So yeah, I think that these are actually good ideas. You know what I would suggest that you do, Gary, if you don't mind? Do you have a way of messaging Adam directly, or do you follow him on Instagram?
Yeah, we've been going back and forth.
Oh, that's awesome. Because what I would say is Adam is one of the people where when I do a collab, he posts everything.
Okay.
So he is constantly updating his recipes, and if you look at what he provides compared to almost everybody else, it's an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Well,
so no,
Kelly
it's great.
Bone,
It's great.
Kelly Bone gave us.
Good. So here's what I would say: message him directly, and then we'll let him decide how much more detail he wants to give. But I think all of these are good suggestions. Probably when we come out of this, which hopefully will be any day now, then we'll probably go back to normal and forget about it, and we'll try to do things and be more specific like we used to be. But right now, we're just trying to be more inclusive and try not to leave people out that don't have access to all the pans and all the mixers and all the flour, because a lot of what we're doing is these days just trying to make people feel better. But at the same time, there's people like you, they want all the details, and so we want to cater to those people too. So it's a good one. Definitely message Adam directly.
Will do. Thank you. And the devil is in the details, sir.
No. I get it. I'm down. 100%.
The proof is in the pudding, but the truth is in the pie. That's what we always say.
Right.
Now.
So,
that's right.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
CB, I see you have your hand up. Why don't you unmute and we'll chit chat for a moment.
CB,
hello.
So patient. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. So thank you for this. It's so fun. I'm really enjoying it. I will definitely sign up for the beginning class. 2 questions. So if I sign up and my husband's with me, is he allowed to like be over my shoulder, or should I pay for him?
No.
Okay.
You can put 18 people in your kitchen. We don't care. The more the merrier.
The more the merrier at the pizza parties. Come on.
Okay, great. We'll invite the whole neighborhood.
Okay, calm down.
So last night, I've had this Alpha oven, which is wood fired. It's the Alpha Chow, and it's bright yellow, and very important detail. And my first pie.
Can you show it to us?
Well, I'm on my phone and I don't know how to do the share screen thing but it's the Alpha Chow. If you Google it, you want me to walk outside and show it to you?
Yeah. That would be fun. We love
that's, we always are like,
this is the main reason we host classes, so we can see the insides of your houses and more importantly, your pizza ovens.
We're casing the pizza oven. We're casing the
CB, where are you, by the way?
Okay. I'm in Arizona and I'm turning on my lights outside.
Thank you. This is so fun.
I know.
See.
Who knew they were going to be seeing CB's oven tonight?
I know. I can't wait. I can't wait to see the bright yellow. Don't mind me. I'm just chewing on my envy crust over here.
Okay. Well, it was a big splurge. I'm a teacher and an artist, and this thing, they gave us $1,000 check because we're teaching during the pandemic. I teach at a private school. So anyway, so I spent it all on this thing. Hold on.
Awesome.
Flip. Wait, how do you flip your camera? Here we go. Got it. Sorry.
There we go.
I'm not that.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So there's the and what we're thermal mass because it's steel,
Beautiful. That's a nice oven.
Right. And so the reason there's all that ash is because we learned today that you have to put a fire over the food stain, like the burnt stuff, and then
Sure.
Anyway, we built this whole thing for it, and that's
Beautiful.
where the wood
goes. Nice job. Yeah.
And then there's going to be a stone top, but okay, that's not why you wanted to talk to me. But it's really exciting. And so I did My pizza last night was creme fraiche with thyme, and then Meyer lemon, like really thinly sliced, and
Beautiful.
cipollini onions, really thinly sliced. But the Meyer lemon was like super bitter, and I wasn't expecting that. Like, how do you make? I want to make, like, if you picture salt and straw ice cream,
Hmm.
but like for pizza, that's
Hmm.
what I want to do in my backyard. Like very locavore, seasonal flavors, like local, like it's citrus season in Arizona, so I want to cook citrus on my pizza. But it was so bitter, and I'm wondering what I did wrong. Or
I don't think you did anything wrong. So
okay,
here's what I would say. Like, I love cooking with lemons. So right now I have 3 different kinds of lemons in my fridge. 2 of them are Meyer lemons.
yeah.
What kind of lemon did you use?
I used Meyer lemon. I sliced it really fine, and I was
Yeah.
wondering if that pith white stuff, if it was just
No, I
and
think the Meyer
yeah,
lemon should be fine. Like, we did something very similar the other night, and we sliced it on a mandolin really thin.
yeah,
And here's what I'll tell you: one of the Meyer lemons was fragrant and almost aromatic, like an orange, and the other one was kind of sour and pithy.
okay,
And so you have to be careful because not every Meyer lemon is the same,
okay,
right? Some of them have really thin skin and are super shiny, right?
mm-hmm,
Some of them have more pith and more bitterness.
mm,
Some of them are super juicy, some of them not. So you kind of have to. Also,
okay,
it really depends. Like, some of the lemons, if they're freshly picked, it's like they're too much flavor. I like to let them like sit in my fridge for a little bit, right?
okay,
Also, the way that you cook them, because maybe what happened is you didn't get enough top heat to actually
mm,
cook the lemons down,
okay.
right? So maybe you have to learn, maybe you got to dome those pizzas to continue cooking it, because I think if they're undercooked, yeah, they're going to be a little bit strong.
What do you mean dome them? Like put them up on the peel?
Yeah, so
Right?
when you're cooking a wood-fired pizza, you start it on the hearth, then you
Yeah.
turn it, right? And so you're cooking the bottom and the sides. And then what I usually do is I find that the bottom usually is done before the top, right? And so I'll dome it where you take it and you raise it off the floor and you cook it. You cook the top of it for 2-3 seconds. Drop it, turn it, put it up to the dome where the heat is the hottest. Let it kiss the fire. I mean,
Okay.
2-3 seconds at the most.
Okay.
So we're
Cool.
going to be doing some wood-fired cooking classes probably in February. I've got some chef friends that want to do them, and so we're going to be cooking a variety of teaching a variety of different styles. But you can do it on an uni or a rock box. But what you have is a nice size oven. So what I would say is you need to learn to control your flame,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And just keep practicing.
Okay.
And just because you make a pizza once and it's not perfect, make it again. Make it the
Mm.
exact same way, and change your technique. Change the way that you prepare it. Right? When you slice those those lemons really thin, did you use a knife or a mandolin?
I don't have a mandolin, and we've always wanted one, and I just I have kids, and I'm just afraid they'll cut their fingers off. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
went.
How about did you sharpen your knife before you cut the lemons?
It was decently new. I mean,
Okay,
it's
okay. So
yeah,
here's what I think. I think your lemon was too thick.
okay.
Because if
I
you
think
slice them paper thin, if you can, with a nice sharp knife, I
yeah.
don't think they should be sour or bitter or too,
Okay.
especially if you're
Okay.
using the right lemons. And tis the season right now,
Oh, it was gonna be.
at least
It
in
was good.
California.
Yeah. No, it's right. It's right now. It was great. It was just a slightly bitter finish to the yeah.
Also, I gotta say, you are using flavors and combinations that are all very gentle, right? You're using
Mm,
herbs. You're using a very mild cheese. You're using paper thin fruits and vegetables. Like, the ratios are so important.
okay.
If you're putting a bunch of cheese and sauce on a pizza, it's not so much about the ratios. But if you're using like thyme, which of all the herbs is like so gentle and
Yeah.
subtle, right? And a beautiful, what kind of cheese are you using? A sheep
It
milk or
was
cow's milk?
creme
Creme
fraiche,
fraiche, right? I
and
mean,
then we used like a Parmigiano Reggiano just on top. Yeah.
when were you putting the creme fraiche on, at the beginning?
I'm kind of making this up. I don't actually know what I'm doing. So I put olive oil on the pizza first. Was that a bad move?
No,
Okay.
no, 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 no.
And then I
But
spread creme fraiche on top of that. And then I put the
sounds
cipollini
nice.
onions, and then the Meyer lemons, and then the like grated Parmigiano Reggiano. And then I
There's a
did more.
lot going on there. There's a lot
Yeah.
going on. You're starting with a very advanced pizza. You know what I would do? I would cook that pizza with just onions,
Okay.
right? and maybe a little creme fraiche, and not worry too much about the lemons or the herbs necessarily, and get that down. I mean, to cook a raw lemon on a pizza is super advanced, I think.
Okay,
You'll
we'll
get
go.
it. You'll
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. Thank
Good
you.
job.
I'm
Nice to meet you.
excited to see the adventures of cooking in that wonderful new oven. So
Beautiful, and the
it's so
color is
tasty.
amazing.
yeah,
I mean, for the aesthetics of it are incredible for two artist people to,
Yeah.
It's so like Italian, but also incredibly, it's like modern art. It's contemporary. It's just beautiful. So beautiful.
So at what temp was it saying that you were cooking those pizzas at?
Well, this is our second time to ever fire this thing. And we have one of those gun laser thingies. And it was saying like, the floor was hotter than the ambient temperature. I think it was like the floor was like 450. And the temperature, I don't know, 400. I mean, it wasn't super hot.
Right. Okay.
Should it be better than that?
It really, it's going to depend on what. I mean, you were talking about trying to do it like a Bianco pie, right? That sort of flavor. So
yeah.
I mean, I think we've talked about this. I think he cooks around he cooks it a little longer and a little lower. Traditional Neapolitan is a gazillion degrees and they cook it for 1 second. I mean, that's the idea. So, but I think what people do, they have their heat, maybe not 450, but maybe like 600 or 650, and they cook it a little longer than a traditional 1 second or 3 minute or 90 seconds, whatever. You cook it for 7 or 8 minutes to get the desired crispiness that you're looking for. Noel, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, you said it all. Good job.
So, but I just want to say, in the immortal words of Chris Bianco and us, make and bake and you burn, you learn. So and like what Noel's saying, maybe don't focus so much initially on the toppings until you get the technique down using the oven. So if you burn it, you're not like wasting, don't go out and get buffalo this and shaved truffles, because the technique of learning to use the tools that you have, there's going to be a learning curve there. And I'd rather burn some shreds from Kroger than, cream fresh from something else. So, but
good.
Awesome.
That's a good plan. Thank you. And I always teach I'm an art teacher. I always teach my students to not have masterpiece syndrome. Of course, I just realized everything I'm saying to you is that I'm going for masterpiece syndrome. So I'm just breaking my own rules. So thank you for that reminder.
Justin, there's a new pizza phrase for you, right?
There you go. Masterpiece syndrome. Don't you dare have it. But it's everybody can obviously know it's tough for somebody like me. I mean, when I get up, I look at the mirror, masterpiece syndrome. You know what I mean? Everything I touch turns to gold. It is a blessing and a curse. Thanks, CB.
Hey, CB, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you seen this focaccia that people are doing lately, where they're basically drawing little scenes on top of the focaccia with vegetables? Have you seen that?
I've seen some of that. There's also some incredible like knife cutting into bowls that's really artistic. But I don't know if I've seen this like landscapey focaccias as much. That sounds nice. I'll check that out. I'll Google that.
Check it out. People are doing some really beautiful things. They're like storybook illustrations, but with vegetables on focaccia. Really beautiful.
Cool.
Landscapes.
Nice. I'll check that out.
You got it.
Art.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Justin, I got about 2 more minutes, then I got to bounce. Any pressing questions out there?
I feel like we did an all right job here.
Yeah.
All the Q&As got answered. We had 36. I know that it was some just a little back and forth, but hopefully we will able to answer everything. Noel, you want to say goodbye to these fine folks?
First, Justin, I want to thank you for putting up with me once again. I'm very demanding and ornery, and I'm calling you out for stuff I should be calling myself out for.
There you go. I'm a reflection. Huh?
You are a reflection. So I also want to say you're looking very dapper today. I like your button-down shirt.
Yeah,
this is my Mr. Rogers sweater look.
This is my famous yellow button-down shirt. It's my beach shirt, but I love it. I've had it forever.
It looks dressy when you wear it.
Well, but like it's below the nipples. It's like a mess.
Let's not talk about that.
Oh, excuse me. It's like Instagram. Can't show it. Sorry, guys.
So, guys, I just want to say thank you to everybody. This is our last class of the year. I'm a little behind on getting the January.
This is our last office hours of the year.
Our last office hours.
What do you do without me, guys?
Well, what did I do? No, and then I guess our last class is tomorrow and Wednesday. So
Mhm.
it's been a really awesome year. Thank you for your support. 1 year ago, Justin and I had no idea we would be doing any of this.
We were
Justin, had you
opening.
even been on the internet in 2019?
I've never been. I'm not on the internet now. This is just fake. This is all. If it doesn't happen on Zoom, it doesn't exist. We were about to open a restaurant in Venice at the Hotel Irwin, I believe, a year ago.
That's
And
true.
Noel
we were.
said, "Have you heard anything about this corona?" And I'm like, "Nothing to worry about. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make this pizza."
I'm gonna make this pizza. Justin, you were working pretty late into the. When did you stop working at Hotel Irwin? February, late February,
yeah,
early March?
it was the end of February because I went down to visit my family in Mexico for a week, and we got
Got it.
back, I think, on the 11th.
That's
And
pretty late. That's pretty
by
late.
by the 15th, we were hanging out inside.
Justin, before we leave, I don't know. I don't suppose you can post that video that you shot of yourself at the pool in Mexico, can you? Please.
You have to go. I'm
Take
gonna
us out with
hold on.
a smile on our faces.
Let
You
me
got to
see if
see
I
this.
can.
This is Justin partying with the over 60s crowd at the pool,
The pro-
uninvited. I'm assuming.
The problem is that I don't think you can like. I'm gonna
What?
put it in the link, and then everybody can.
Okay, good.
Oh,
Put it in the link.
Here's
so
a couple ones. We just did this one. This was a holiday themed one, and I'll put it in the link here for everybody.
You can't share your screen, Justin. You're a co-host.
I can, but they won't hear the audio. I don't
Oh,
think.
okay. I need to hear your audio.
So. I
How
posted
do you
that.
describe what you're about to put in the
So-
you're about to put in the chat?
That in the chat is basically I never understood the "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" song because it starts out like really nice, it's like "We wish you a Merry Christmas," and then it kind of like descends into like some weird figgy pudding stuff. And I don't know, I've never had figgy pudding, but it's like, we all like figgy pudding, bring us a figgy pudding. And then it like gets weird. It's like a hostage situation. We're not going anywhere until we get this freaking figgy pudding, And it's like mean at the end. It's like, we won't go until we get some. And so the first Instagram was just me and my wife putting me in a onesie and making me have a little figgy pudding tantrum. And then the second one is definitely me jamming in Puerto Vallarta with all the Canadians. Let's just say so.
You and the Canadians in Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah,
who has a better tan, you or the Canadians?
These guys do not mess around. I get my vitamin D by pill form these days, trying to save my poor hairline. Anyway, ladies and germs and ladies, cats and dogs, children of all ages, we've had a wonderful time, not only tonight, but holding these office hours. It's important that we have a sense of community. There are still trying times ahead of us, but I think one pizza at a time, we will all get there and we will be able to break bread once again with people that we give a ship about. So please, 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 ladies and germs, Noel is always at Slow Rise Pizza. I'm at Justin Clark Dre or at the Pizza Frequency that we all vibrate at. You know where Noel is. You can hook him up in the emails. I'm really bad at all that stuff. Please, please, please continue to stay safe and stay strong and belong with one another. The opposite of being short, because the reality is we all belong here together. And please, 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 you know what we say: pizza always, even pineapple, and always pizza. Thank you, everybody. We love you so much. Pieces and pizza slices. See you guys. Last class of the season tomorrow. See you next year,
Justin.
maybe. You got it. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.